when and if they are allowed back in today there in Augusta. Earlier today, a line of heavy storms produced a radar-confirmed tornado for folks in South Metro Atlanta.
The path of the system took it across Spalding, Fayette, and Henry counties. Despite being such an intense storm traveling that great a distance, there are minimal reports of structural damage. However, the wind did topple trees and power lines.
Please always consider any power lines that are down on the ground to be energized, because you never know if they've been addressed or not. And if you see the roadblock, just turn around and go back another way.
Spalding Fire's Glenn Polk says at least one home did have some damage from down trees. The system weakened considerably as it rolled into Newton County. Graham Carroll, 95.5 WSB.
And travelers are facing long lines at security checkpoints at Hartsfield-Jackson International this afternoon. The airport's now advising passengers to arrive 2.5 hours prior to their scheduled boarding time and monitor communications from their airline. Hartsfield-Jackson playing catch-up after the storms over the weekend and this morning. About 500 flights delayed or canceled today. Security wait times have been as long as 80 minutes this morning, and before taking air, we checked wait times now are about 35 minutes at Hartsfield. Well, the storms are gone, and the rain should be gone too by this afternoon with a high of 65 before a cold front moves in. Channel 2 Action News meteorologist Brad Nitz will have Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast that comes your way at 12:05. It's a fast track to jail for a Dunwoody super speeder.
The Dunwoody Police Department says one of its officers clocked an 18-year-old driver at nearly 140 miles per hour on Interstate 285. That's well above the speed limits on 285, which range from 55 to 65 miles per hour. That driver was arrested as a result.
WSB's Austin Heller reports the agency calls speeds that high a recipe for disaster. A former Coweta County deputy finds himself behind bars.
In February, the Coweta County Sheriff's Office asked the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to look into claims that a former deputy used excessive force against an inmate of the Coweta jail. The GBI says the probe indicates 29-year-old Justin Alexander Woods of Hogansville tased an inmate who was already fully restrained during an argument between the two. The GBI arrested Woods and he was booked into the county jail. Anyone with information about the case is asked to call the GBI. Lisa Nicholas, 95.5 WSB.
New research this afternoon by the University of Florida looked at over 92,000 patients over the age of 50 who, for almost 9 years, took drugs to lower their blood sugar and promote weight loss. The data suggests those patients lowered their risk of Alzheimer's and dementia by as much as 43%. Rebecca Edelmeyer is a neuroscientist for the Alzheimer's Association.
There are late-stage clinical trials that are actually testing these treatments that are happening right now. And we know of a few that are actually expected to report out in the fall of this year.
And if all goes well, she said this could mean new treatment options for Alzheimer's or dementia. All right, so how's your bracket looking? Are you still in it? Tonight's the night. The field of 68 has been whittled down now to just 2. Tonight, Florida and Houston will face off in San Antonio for the right to be crowned Kings of Men's College Basketball. CBS Sports contributor John Rothstein on what he's looking at tonight.
Can Florida match Houston's toughness? Houston under Kelvin Sampson has built the best culture in college basketball. Florida's front court needs to match the Cougars up front. That is the matchup to watch tonight in San Antonio.
And tip-off is set for 8:50 tonight. It is another stomach-churning roller coaster ride on Wall Street today. Stocks have been down 1 minute, up the next. Lee Baker, founder and CEO of Clark's Financial Advisors based here in Atlanta, has more to say on today's market movement.
My theory is at some point as things continue to shake out, we're likely to see a positive day. Now, whether or not that'll turn out to be today or tomorrow, I don't know. But my caution would be that I don't believe we're out of the woods yet.
And he says certainty is what will help calm the markets, but businesses are still trying to figure out the rules when it comes to tariffs. In the meanwhile, he says investors should understand that there are other options than just traditional stocks and bonds. Let's take a look at the markets. We're in the red still. The Dow's down 752 at 37,597. So the Dow's down almost 2%. NASDAQ's down more than 1%, and so is the S&P. It's time now for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams in the WSB 24-hour traffic center. He has a look at your lunchtime roads.
And some better news on the west side. Outer loop of 285 southbound. Before I-20 exit 10, that earlier crash, it was blocking most of the interstate, now completely off to the right, so that's helping the delays improve coming out of Cobb into Fulton County and West Atlanta area. Heads up in Brookhaven, got a crash on Peachtree Road southbound at Dresden Drive. Just a left lane open there, so that's slowing the ride as you leave Osborne Road. In the downtown connector, 75-85 southbound, seen a few brake lights. lights, but not terrible. You're on and off it, leaving 17th Street down to North Avenue. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
It's time now for Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast, sponsored by Shoemate, the official air conditioning of Atlanta.
The rain tapers off. We'll top out in the mid-60s today, clearing late, setting us up for sunshine and cooler weather for the days ahead. Tuesday, mostly sunny, low 44, high 61. Wednesday starts at 40 in town, some frost possible in the suburbs, then mostly sunny, high 68. My 5-day forecast for Thursday and Friday. Thursday, partly cloudy, a slight chance of a shower late, low 47, high 73. And then mostly cloudy with a few isolated showers Friday, low 52, high 66. I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz, 95.5 WSB.
All right, we have 63 degrees right now. We'll have more news at 12:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Conversationalists, welcome. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. It's Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, continue to not look at your portfolio. My goodness. If you text the word Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, you can get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, and a whole lot more. You want to stay as informed as possible with what's going on. The president has announced something he's calling the Panican, which are Republicans who are panicking over the stock market. Now, you should know that this morning the stock market started in a bloodbath, and then several tweets came out suggesting Kevin Hassett had said President Trump was going to pause tariffs for 90 days, and the stock market skyrocketed into positive territory. The Dow went up in a matter of minutes, a 7% increase. It has now gone back down. All the markets are down right now. The Dow is down over 700 points. The NASDAQ down 184 points. The S&P 500 down 70 points. And it was down a lot lower than that before that tweet this morning. This is the third day. So if you read my morning piece, if you texted data to 33777, you subscribed, everybody, doesn't matter, paid, unpaid, gets my morning piece. I noted I had talked to an investor, a very prominent investor. You all see him on CNBC, and he told me what he was looking for today. He doesn't normally watch the day-to-day trends of the market, but we had a weekend. And Thursday and Friday were panic-driven sell-offs due to the tariffs. And he said essentially that just wait and see, because over the weekend there would be time to assess and you would have a greater sense of things over the weekend. And if the market kind of wobbled a little bit, didn't move much, that was kind of a sign that people were starting to figure it out. If it went up, there was a sign the market saw light at the end of the tunnel. And if it went down further, markets believe doom is coming. Well, guess what? As of noon today, the markets believe doom is coming. And I kind of suspect the doom is coming. And now, why do I say that? Well, we'll get into the harbingers of what we're seeing out there right now that are a little bit concerning in the markets. So all that being said, however, we got some things to discuss out of the gate. I want to start here. For the sake of argument, and you all know I'm not a fan of tariffs. I don't think they work. I think they're economically regressive. But just for the sake of argument, listen to me and understand I'm talking to the people who believe the tariffs work. And I have a request. You've got to find a coherent argument to move us through this. Now, let me explain what I mean by coherent argument. Donald Trump's team says, what about tariffs? That we need tariffs to restore economic balance, to restore manufacturing to the United States, to provide increased revenue to the Treasury. Remember, $5 to $6 trillion in income, they say. If that's the case, we need tariffs to restore American manufacturing, reset the world trade balance, and boost revenue to the federal treasury, to then say, but we're willing to have zero tariffs for free trade. Well, that then negates the restoring of manufacturing to the United States and the $5 to $6 trillion you say you're going to get with tariffs. So which is it? Do you want to restore manufacturing to the United States and have increased revenue from tariffs, or do you want zero tariffs and free trade? Because the truth of the matter is, and many of you are willing to believe the lie, and it is a lie, the truth of the matter is, in many cases, we had free trade. Take South Korea, for example. We had zero tariffs with South Korea on reciprocal trading. In Switzerland, 99% of all American goods had zero tariffs. With Australia, Australia is getting a 10% tariff, but we actually had a trade surplus with Australia, and Donald Trump told us the tariff was to fix a trade deficit. Well, if we have a trade surplus with Australia, why is there a tariff? And also, Australia and the United States have a reciprocal trade agreement where we already had free trade. We already had zero tariffs on each side. Now, if you want to believe the lie, I can't stop you from believing the lie. And just as there were a lot of Democrats who wanted to believe inflation wasn't their fault and inflation was transitory, there are a lot of partisans on the right who do want to believe the lies of the right. Politicians lie. Politician comes from Latin, poly meaning many, ticks meaning blood-sucking creatures. You have a lot of blood-sucking creatures out there who do lie to you on both sides of the aisle. I had somebody comment on an Instagram post this weekend while I was accurately explaining the tariffs. Well, the Treasury Secretary disagrees with you. I think I'll believe the Treasury Secretary. That's fine, but understand I don't carry water for anyone, and I don't have to toe a party line, and the Treasury Secretary has to toe the party line, even though the Treasury Secretary behind the scenes is trying to kill the tariffs. Publicly, Scott Bisson is saying a lot of great things, as is Kevin Hassan, about the tariffs, but behind the scenes, they want to kill the tariffs. Both of them are men who have written in the past about how bad tariffs are. So please, listen, for the sake of argument, let's acknowledge the tariffs are good, the tariffs are wonderful, the tariffs will restore manufacturing, the tariffs will drive up revenue to the Treasury. For the sake of argument, let's acknowledge all that. Now my point is just find consistency in the argument. What do I mean? Another example of this. On Thursday and Friday, the markets fell dramatically. We're now back to where the markets were in 2023. And a lot of people who lamented the market fall in 2022 when Biden was president, a lot of them, almost all of them, turned around and said, well, this isn't so bad. The markets are still higher than Joe Biden's crash in 22. Benny Johnson, the propagandist, did an entire monologue for people that their digital dollars were just digital. It didn't really matter. It matters a lot to people on the verge of retirement that their 401ks are falling. But to the young propagandists of the right, suddenly when Joe Biden was president and the markets fell, it was bad. But when Donald Trump is president, the markets fall, it's actually good, and the money's made up anyway. It's not really real. Find some consistency, please. That overwhelmingly is the problem here. Forget the tariffs. Take the tariffs out of the situation. I don't care whether you like the tariffs or hate the tariffs. It's the ability to plan and the certainty that's the problem. And the messages are so mixed as to what actually is, what are we trying to accomplish with the tariffs? Are we trying to accomplish free trade? Are we trying to accomplish fair trade? What exactly are we trying to accomplish? And if the tariffs are good and we need the tariffs, then why is there a rush among some within the administration to get to zero trade? Where is the balance? We've been told in the last several days we need to learn to live with less, be comfortable with less, your portfolio is not real, and the suffering is short term. Now, here's the problem for the people who go with the suffering short term, and this is part of President Trump's problem, is if the suffering is short term, but that short term is still a year or so, that's going to get the Democrats back into the House of Representatives for sure, and maybe the Senate, and certainly governors' mansions and state legislatures, and good luck to the president being able to accomplish his agenda from there. This morning on CNBC, CNN, and Fox News, half the Trump administration was saying that the president's willing to negotiate with countries and structure deals. The other half is saying no deals, it's going to be tariffs. Tariffs are the way to go. Peter Navarro taking it's tariffs are the way to go. Scott Bessent suggesting there could be deals cut. Kevin Hassett suggesting there could be deals worked. We've got to figure out this message. Can a deal be worked? Can there be negotiation, or is there going to be a tariff? I kind of suspect, I have a theory about what's going on. I think a lot of people in the Trump administration didn't appreciate the market reaction. Didn't think the market was going to react the way it has reacted. And now they're trying to not acknowledge that maybe they overplayed their hand, maybe they went too hard too fast. They're now trying to rationalize everything around them. And I think that's part of the problem. And when you have the Treasury Secretary and the Commerce Secretary on the weekend shows disagreeing with each other on are the tariffs a negotiating tool or are the tariffs here for real and to stay, you cause uncertainty for businesses. So you've got to work out the messaging. Take me out of it, take my views out of it, take my opposition to tariffs out of it, and just acknowledge that when the Commerce Secretary and the Treasury Secretary are saying the opposite things, you have a problem. You're seeding confusion. Even the smallest business, let's take my business. My business has less than a half dozen employees. I got to have some certainty about the economy to plan for my next year, to be able to budget, to give pay raises, to plan for costs that we may incur. And I'm a very small business. Take Main Street, take your local Ace Hardware store. God bless them. Ace Hardwares are the greatest things. How many of their goods are imported? How many of their goods are domestic? Are the tariffs going to stick around? They got to figure out prices. They've got wages to make. They've got to pay people. What are the costs of doing business for the local hardware store going to be? How many of the products in the local hardware store are imported, and are they going to go up? Of the domestically produced products, how many have imported parts? So that cost is going to go up. Or take groceries. Just take groceries, for example. There is no American manufacturer of cinnamon. Americans eat a lot of cinnamon. My family, we make a lot of cinnamon rolls. People eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal. Cinnamon is a flavoring in a lot of things. Cinnamon cannot be produced in the United States. We don't have the tropical environment. So it's going to be 100% imported, which means it's going to be 100% put a tariff. And the same goes with black pepper. The same goes with coffee. The same goes with cumin. The same goes with coriander. A lot of spices we can't grow in this country. Herbs we can, thyme, oregano, basil. Many of us have those in our garden. The spices you can't get in this country. They're all subject to the tariff. The Trump administration didn't consider waiving a grocery tariff. So bananas, fruits that are imported from other countries, the consumer is going to be hit with those. You got to plan your family budget. Now the price of bananas is going to go up, and maybe not by much, but this is the thing. What the Biden administration was saying as well was that, well, yeah, prices for some things have gone up, but overall it's not that bad. That's what the Trump administration is now saying. Yeah, prices are going up, but it's not that bad. There's got to be some level of economic consistency, friends. There's got to be. You've got to find a message and stay on message. The Treasury Secretary and the Commerce Secretary, the Trade Representative, they're all talking past each other. The National Economic Council advisor, he's talking a different game as well. You've got 4 members of the cabinet, all with 4 separate messages on how the tariffs are working. Are they going to stay around? Are they a negotiating tool? Or are they a permanent thing? We need clarity for small business. We need clarity for big business, and we need clarity for families. It seems to me they rushed it. Now, I was woken up very early this morning and was told that we should expect this week the president will issue a pause on the tariffs. That rumor came out this morning and set the market skyrocketing. And many of the people who on Thursday and Friday were saying the market falling is no big deal, those are fake numbers anyway, were cheering the rise of the market. If the numbers were fake, why cheer the rise after last week? You said the dip wasn't bad. Again, the messaging even to the people who are out there trying to sell this for the president is so muddied, so confused. They've got to have some consistency because the bottom line is just this. The business of America is business, and business needs some level of certainty. And when you've got 4 members of Trump's economic team talking past each other, confusing the situation, you don't have consistency and you don't have certainty. Businesses can't plan with that. And when businesses can't plan with that, they sit on the sidelines, they don't hire people, they make cuts, and they wait for clarity. And that wait for clarity could push us into a recession.
Have something to say? Hello. Call the show. 1-877-97-ERIC. That's 1-877-973-7425.
1220 Cool Ray Carrier, WSP 24-hour traffic center. A little sluggish heading into Midtown and downtown on 85 southbound, just south of 400. The brake lights continue 75, 85 southbound, but improves once you get closer to North Avenue. Crash stall off to the right, 285 southbound, the outer loop on the west side in Fulton County before I-20 exit 10. Some delays there. And they're clearing up this crash in Brookhaven. It's been blocking everything but the left lane on Peachtree Road southbound at Dresden Drive. Traffic brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off. And for UPS shipping, add code radio and get an extra 5% off. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
When news breaks,
401ks take another massive hit.
We've got it covered.
The worst 2-day route for stocks since March of 2020.
With news at the top and bottom of every hour.
Tariff increases will be significantly larger than expected.
And when it breaks.
And the same is likely to be true of the economic effects.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's breaking news station.
Dave Baker here for Overhead Door Company of Atlanta. Let's talk garage doors. Your garage door, is it too loud? Does it let outside air in around the frame? Overhead Door Company of Atlanta will make it all better this month only, and for only $79, they'll perform their full 26-task garage door tune-up. That's just $79 for up to 3 garage doors and openers. You need this done once a year anyway, so why not now and for just $79? Schedule now at overheaddooratlanta.com.
The foods we eat can be downright bad for our health. This is Sue from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've been teaching the truth about real bread. Not the stuff you buy at the store. I'm talking real bread made with freshly milled flour. When you buy bread from the store, take a look at the ingredients. Enriched flour means that the nutritious bran and germ has been removed to improve the shelf life. Then a few B vitamins and iron are added back to replace the multitude of nutrients lost. That's not enrichment in my book. And today, that label may even read contains bioengineered food ingredients. Food should never be bioengineered. At Bread Beckers in Woodstock, we can teach you how to make real bread loaded with fiber and nutrients. A delicious, healthy, affordable solution that can improve your health and change your life. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
This is Scott Slade, and this is my health story. I get a checkup every year. In last September, my primary care physician was troubled by a suspicious number of my lab work. I'll never forget his words, "I want somebody looking over my shoulder on this." Well, that led to a diagnosis early enough to give me options and optimism for a good outcome. When we're talking about our health, we shouldn't be shy. I think it's important to talk about what can kill you or rob you of your quality of life. Heart disease is still the nation's #1 killer. And what I think should be right up there with it, procrastination. We all need expert eyes looking us over every so often to spot problems while we still have options to deal with them. And that's where virtual imaging comes in. They've got the best CT imaging in the Southeast with 98% accuracy and low radiation, like flying in an airplane. They can detect calcium levels in your arteries and most cancers at the earliest stage. And virtual imaging can scan your brain to see if you're in danger of a tumor, stroke, or even dementia. I am living proof that preventive medicine can save lives. So don't put this off, especially with this offer from Virtual Imaging. For a limited time, they're offering you and your spouse a free heart scan. Yes, free, with a few minimum requirements. I've done it. Call 404-678-SCAN. That's 404-678-SCAN. Or make an appointment by visiting their website at virtualimagingatl.com. Do it now while you still have options.
It's Eric Erickson here. Every single day now, I deal with a malicious request to click a link. My daughter the other day got a text message some of you have probably gotten. Click on it and pay your toll, and it's just a scam. All these things keep happening. They're preying upon the young, senior citizens, and you and me. But there's good news. Vision Computer is here to help you. If you have their managed service, you're never alone, and in just 15 seconds, expert tech support is at your fingertips, ready to protect you from online threats, scams, and computer problems. And you don't have to take my word for it. We're a Vision Computer household, but they've got thousands of 5-star reviews beyond my household reviews, but I'd give them 5 stars too. They've got thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews because they're simply the best. Call them at 404-COMPUTE today or visit them online at visioncomputers.com, because when it comes to your security, you can't afford to wait. Vision will take care of you. Tell them I sent you. Call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com.
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Get Eric's daily show prep email. Text DATA to 33777 and you'll be in the know.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be very, very happy to have you. I have a concern, and some of you I know are going to be really offended by it, and I stand by it. I think a lot of wealthy Republicans and upper middle class Republicans are cosplaying as the working class. They're not really the working class, but they like to think of themselves as that because they view it as a more noble station in life than being wealthy. In the same way, a lot of Democrats embraced identity politics for Hispanics and decided they needed to advance a crazy agenda to bring in Hispanics, and they wound up losing Hispanics. I think the GOP is embracing some crazy identity politics stuff for the working class. They're going to lose the working class. Like, for example, there is this conversation now about how office work has no meaning, and we need to restore manufacturing jobs and factory jobs so that people can actually build things and see those things being built with their hands, and it will provide meaning in their lives to go back into factories. Friends, there's an entire body of cultural criticism in movies and books from the 1970s and early 80s about dads working very hard so their sons and daughters didn't have to work the factory floor or work in manufacturing. In fact, if you go back and you look at people on the left and the right in the 1970s and the early 80s, there were entire articles written about how factory jobs provide no meaning and are killing to the soul. It's very weird how the circle comes, people with no sense of history. People are now claiming that we need factory jobs to get a sense of soul in our work. And in the 70s and 80s, it was we got to get our kids out of the factories because it's sucking their souls. We've come full circle now. And this cosplay that I'm a working class man because I bought an F-150 and I wear boots. No, you're not a working class man. You work in a law firm. Shut up. No, there are working class families. We should value them and the work they do. If you work in manufacturing, God bless you. But you know, we've gone from 40% working in manufacturing in this country in the 1970s to 10% today. We do more specialized factory work, car building, jet building, things like that. You're not going to return, nor should you want to return, the shoe factory to the United States. And yet, that's what these rich white Republicans are cosplaying at in the name of identifying with the working class. Now, I got to tell you about Vision Computer because they can build you a computer. They can service your computer. Let's say, well, with the tariffs coming, it's going to be expensive to build a new computer, particularly. Vision can save you some money, particularly if you tell them Eric sent you. But let's say you want to hang on to your computers now. You don't want to upgrade right now. You want to see where the tariffs play out. Well, Vision can be your tech support. So they can fix your computers for you. They can help your staff. So now with your costs going up, you can't afford to have the in-house IT guy. Vision Computer can take that over for $179 per computer. And if you tell them Eric sent you, you're going to save even more money. Call them at 404-COMPUTER. Go to visioncomputers.com. Now, this applies to everyone nationwide, by the way. So if you live in California and you need tech help for your computer and you can't afford the in-house guy now, Vision can take care of it for you. They can do printer support, email support. You get a special phone number to call. They answer in 15 seconds or less. Call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com. Tell them Eric sent you. You're going to be able to save some money.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic,
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 12:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This news sponsored by Jim Ellis Automotive. Were you caught in the storms this morning? We did have severe weather move through several South Metro counties. In fact, a tornado warning was issued for several counties on the morning commute. This following weekend storms that dumped a lot of rain. In Augusta at the Masters, today's practice round has been suspended and they've cleared the course. Check back. We'll let you know when and if they'll let you back in today or not. And at the airport, long wait times today as a number of flights were either canceled or delayed because of the weather. The rain is ending this afternoon with a high of 65, says Channel 2 Action News meteorologist Brad Nitz. And speaking of that, a new effort to try to make it easier to see about and get federal flood insurance has been announced. Chuck Siverston has details.
A new website at which Americans can get a flood insurance quote directly has been announced by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. It's quick and easy and takes just a few minutes, says Cameron Hamilton, the acting FEMA administrator. In a statement, he says insured survivors recover faster with spring flooding and hurricane season coming. The site is floodsmart.gov and quotes are free.
All right, how fast are you driving? If you're in the car, you might want to take a look. Probably not going this fast, though. An 18-year-old driver arrested for going nearly 140 miles an hour on 285 in Dunwoody. Dunwoody Police Lieutenant Tim Fecht.
When an officer observed a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed and making some lane changes that were unsafe, and he clocked the person with his radar or laser at 137 miles per hour.
And that teenager was arrested, taken to jail. Speed limits on 285 typically between 55 and 65 miles an hour. And Spirit Airlines announcing its chief, Ted Christie, is leaving the airline effective today. This after Spirit emerged from bankruptcy. The markets are in the red. The Dow's down 658 at 37,656. So the Dow's down almost 2%. NASDAQ is down more than 0.5%. And the S&P's down more than a full percent. It's 12:32.
Wall cracks, window stuck, could be a foundation problem. Mark Beckham with Atlanta Ramjack, and our estimators are thoroughly trained to get you the proper evaluation for your home. Schedule your free assessment with the foundation repair experts at atlantaramjack.com.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Hey folks, it's Eric Erickson here. Well, it's Trump 2.0 now, and things are changing quickly. Every day, changes to taxes, tariffs, foreign policy, moving at a pace we haven't seen in a very long time, definitely not in the last 4 years. What about your retirement plan? Many of you know about the Magnificent Seven stocks like Apple, Amazon, Meta. They've been behind a lot of the market's recent growth. I saw my buddy David Nicholas on Stuart Varney show the other day. David is my wife's and my financial advisor, and he was talking about what he calls the MAGA 7 stocks and sectors he thinks are going to have the most opportunity in this new Trump administration era. Well, you know, David gave my wife and me a complimentary Morningstar analysis. It's $1,000 value, but right now my listeners can get it complimentary. He's going to give you guys what he gave my wife and me. If you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, call Nicholas Wealth Management. Get this unbelievably valuable analysis for free. David and his team will review it with you, give you some total clarity, and get you ready for your nest egg in this new era. So if you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, please go to nicholaswealth.com. That's NICHOLAS wealth.com. Or call 678-990-8500. That's 678-990-8500 or nicholaswealth.com.
Nicholas Wealth Management is an independent financial services firm and uses a variety of different investment strategies. This is prepared for informational purposes only. It does not address specific investment objectives or the financial situation and particular needs of any person who listens to this show. Eric Erickson is a current client and is paid for this ad.
The Scott Antique Markets is back at the Atlanta Expo Center, featuring hundreds of vendors with collectibles and merchandise from all over the world. We're on both sides of I-285 exit 55 on Jonesboro Road. Visit scottantiquemarket.com for more information.
All right, Alex Williams, how are we doing on the roads?
Got a crash heading into Midtown, 85 southbound before 17th Street. Hero Police trying to get that out of the HOV lane. And a new crash in Cobb County on the 285 west ramp to I-75 northbound. Left lane of that ramp is blocked, causing delays back toward the Chattahoochee River. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz. Headed to the mid-60s today, clearing late. Mostly sunny tomorrow, low 44, high 61.
60 degrees in Marietta, 62 in Johns Creek. More news at 1 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
He's got the courage to tell you the truth, even when it isn't popular. You're listening to The Erick Erickson Show.
Welcome. It is Erick Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, always happy to have you. Do not forget, text the word Erick, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. You can get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, and a whole lot else. Trey in Jacksonville, Florida, you're going to be the first caller today. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Great.
Yeah. So
what's going on?
I mean, I was listening to your show, and I just have to say the reason why all of this is going on is pretty simple if you really think about it. You know, it's really about Donald Trump. So if you look at this from a logical standpoint, you're not going to get it. Logic doesn't play a role in this. This is about his legacy. That is what this is about. This is why he's changing so much stuff, right? He wants to remake America in his own image, right? That is what's going on. Because think about it. He could have, when it comes to tariffs, he could have had targeting tariffs. He could have implemented that with certain countries. He didn't do that. He did it across the board. Why would you do that, right? Because you want to, have the claim of fame that I did this. I remade the tariff system throughout the whole world. When it comes to all of these things, the firing of the workers, the federal workers, it's because he wants to, again, remake government America in his own image in every single department. Now, where this goes from here, I don't understand, because in 4 years, if he, leaves, he's supposed to leave in 4 years. If he doesn't, I don't know where it goes from there.
Nah, he'll leave. Look, he's not going to stay. And Trey, that's well taken. Look, every president wants a legacy. Normally, presidents do foreign legacies. Of course, listening to you talk, I'm reminded of Ozymandias. No, not from the comic book. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand half sunk a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive, stamped on those lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear, my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings, look on my works, ye mighty in despair. Nothing beside remains around the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." Every president may want a legacy, but causing economic chaos really isn't a legacy, and he doesn't want to cause economic chaos. Let's be clear here. The president wants to realign the global order, but this gets back to my prior point. Does the president want to realign the global order with a protectionist economy or bring manufacturing jobs home, or does the president want no tariffs and free trade? I mean, what exactly is going on here? This is the president talking on the plane last night on his way back home to D.C. He's talking to reporters on Air Force One. They're asking him about the tariffs and the ramifications of the tariffs and the impact of the tariffs.
And you talked to a lot of leaders this weekend. Can you tell us, sir, were there any deals made?
I spoke to a lot of leaders, European, Asian, from all over the world. They're dying to make a deal. But I said, we're not going to have deficits with your country. We're not going to do that, because to me a deficit is a loss. We're going to have surpluses, or we're at worst going to be breaking even. But China would be the worst in the group. so big, and it's not sustainable.
Now, I got to say again, when you listen to this, he's talking about the trade deficit, and he's showing it's a kind of an economics 101 basic misunderstanding of a trade deficit. A trade deficit just means we get more from China than they get from us. Their goods are cheaper than our goods. If you want a trade surplus with China, you've got to make goods cheaper than can be made in China. So how do you do that? Drive down the wages of Americans to the Chinese level, which is unacceptable. It'll make the middle class poor. And you can say the middle class has been wiped out, but you know where the middle class has gone? It's now the upper middle class. We have a smaller middle class in this country, not because it's been wiped out, but because their incomes have gone up so much, they're now classified outside the middle class. That's the truth. You don't have to believe me on that. That's the actual data. You can look up that data yourself. People who say the middle class has been decimated, and I hear that all the time, actually don't know what they're talking about. But the rest of the middle class and the now upper middle class that has come from the middle class are about to be hurt, and we need to talk about this. One of the things that has happened with the tariffs being announced is the bond yield has gone down. Now, this has become spin that this is all part of the plan, that by the bond yield collapsing on the Treasury, it allows Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, to renegotiate and redo American debt, and that lowers the interest rate on the bonds, and that's a side effect for sure. But there's a problem. The bond yield is going down and oil prices are going down together. Do you know, pop quiz, and again, economics 101, when the bond yield and the oil barrel price collapse together, do you know what that means 9 times out of 10? Recession. Oil is now down to $60.98 a barrel. It went down $61.03 a barrel for West Texas crude, $64.58 for Brent, that's North Sea. When the bond yield and the price of a barrel of oil go down together 9 times out of 10, that means the markets are predicting a recession. Now, keep in mind here, this is very important. This is basic economics. How do you price oil? Where is oil sold? A futures market. So the price of a barrel of oil today is priced based on the future. When that happens, it's a signal that the markets believe in the future there's going to be an economic slowdown. Restaurant stocks are starting to go down today. Why? Because investors believe a recession is coming. If you have a recession, you got to understand this. If you have a recession, there's going to be voter blowback. The president is saying we do need the short-term pain for long-term gain. The problem is this mixed message here on is there going to be any pain? The president says we need short-term pain for long-term gain. Some of his strategists says there is going to be no pain. The market's going to be fine. Scott Bessent this weekend saying there's going to be no recession. Scott Bessent knows a recession is coming because oil is down and bond yields are down concurrently, and that's a harbinger of a recession. If a recession comes, you got to remember this. This is Politics 101. This isn't Eric Erickson. This isn't my opinion. This is just a basic fact all of you know if you're willing to set your emotions aside. Your party, whichever party it is, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, your party cannot win an election without bringing non-party members into your coalition. Democrats in 2024 lost their re-election campaign because members of their coalition walked. Some of them didn't show up to vote. They wouldn't vote Republican, but they just stayed home. Now let's fast forward. The working class has moved to Donald Trump, and now tariffs impact the working class more than they do the rich. A recession is coming. Those layoffs will affect the middle class and the working class more than they affect anyone else. So now you brought these people into the Republican coalition and put them into a recession. And you can say it's not Trump's fault, but the major thing that's happened is tariffs. And so he's going to get blamed because, again, the major signature economic policy of the administration is tariffs. People are saying tariffs will cause a recession. Trump says they're not. A recession happens. Who are you going to believe? Trump or the people who told you a recession was coming because of the tariffs, and here's a recession. Whether they're right or not, that's the problem. Tick, 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 tick. The clock is running out. You got to do something because the midterms are coming. You may not want to think about the midterms because we're in April of 2025. But when November of 2026 rolls around and we're in a recession, and the recession we've just come out of it, remember, go back to George H.W. Bush in 1992. We were out of the recession. The markets had recovered, but people still didn't feel great. And so people who liked George H.W. Bush sat home, and Bill Clinton got elected. Now let's do this for Trump in the midterms. You suddenly have Democrats in the House. You have Democratic governors. You have Democratic state legislatures. You have a sweep of Democrats around the country in places they might not have otherwise won. That means more lawsuits. That means more impeachment. That means grinding down. Trey, you want to talk about his legacy? There's a problem with the legacy. The harbingers of economic doom are starting to show up today, and the Republicans need to be mindful of that. When you have the 10-year Treasury and the price of a barrel of oil going down together significantly, that is a sign that a recession is near. And guess what? Goldman Sachs has just released its revised forecasts, and it says recession's coming. Now, listen, you can say don't believe the experts, but what's wild is why are we believing the economic experts of the Trump administration on what tariffs will or will not do? You can think about these things for yourself, and you can use history as a guide. When people call and they complain to me all the time, well, you can't believe the experts. Why are you believing the experts? I'm not believing the experts. I've read Milton Friedman. I've read Adam Smith. I have read Hayek. I've read Bastiat. I understand the way the economy works. I don't need a degree in economics. You're credentializing like the left does on transgenderism to avoid having to deal with the actualities of the argument that is presented. But what I do know is history, and every time we've had major tariffs in this country, we've gotten recessions or depressions. Smoot-Hawley dragged out the American Depression in the 1930s. Tariffs tend to provoke recessions. And if we're going to have a recession to reset the economy, I think Donald Trump and his team need to stop having a mixed message on this, and they need to just say, yes, short-term pain. The long-term gain is this reality. The long-term gain is we're going to reset and rebuild manufacturing. You just got to be patient with this. You've got to be patient with this. Here's Kevin Hassett out there, the president's economic advisor, talking to George Stephanopoulos. He's out there saying that we're actually probably not going to see jobs problems in this country. We're probably not going to see layoffs or maybe even a recession.
That the Senate has agreed.
Yeah. Having technical difficulties on his audio here. Let's see if I can get this up and running for you here. He's talking to George Stephanopoulos, and he says that we don't expect to see any job losses in the country. He doesn't expect to see any job losses. Meanwhile, you've already got Stellantis saying we're laying people off. Again, as I said the other day, that's probably unrelated, but
Well, we just saw that the Senate has agreed to budget rules that the House is negotiating with them now that is going to give the biggest tax cut in history in order to make space for these policies and to not have the runaway deficits that gave us all the inflation in the Biden administration. Then we've got an all-of-the-above approach where we're reducing taxes, reducing spending, reducing regulation, and imposing a baseline tariff around the world and hitting the harder actors, the tougher actors harder. That's what President Trump campaigned on. It's a sound policy. It's why people voted him into office, and it's what we're doing right now. We're delivering out the promises.
Look, I think Hassett is right when it comes to deregulation and cutting taxes, but those probably should have come before the tariffs. And meanwhile, you've got all these stories out that now the president may do a bailout of farmers because farmers are already immediately being impacted in trade. China announced it's going to buy more soybeans from Brazil instead of the United States. But here comes Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, on Face the Nation.
Is the administration considering any kind of offset, any kind of subsidy? You mentioned the first administration, there was some bailout to farmers to help them deal with the pain from Chinese retaliation. Are you looking at that now?
Not that I have not participated in any meetings with respect to that. country is focused on, you realize trillions of dollars of factories are going to be built in America. That's huge GDP. The factories being built in America are huge.
That takes
GDP.
years, and you've said that robots are going to fill those jobs. So those aren't union
it's really automated
jobs.
It's automated factories, but the key is who's going to build the factories, who's going to operate the factories, who's going to make them work. Great American workers. You know, we are going to replace
on other
the
networks.
armies of millions of people. Well, remember, the army of millions and millions of human beings screwing in little screws to make iPhones. That kind of thing is going to come to America. It's going to be automated, and great Americans, the trade craft of America, is going to fix them, is going to work on them. They're going to be mechanics. There's going to be HVAC specialists. There's going to be electricians. The trade craft of America are high school educated Americans. The core to our workforce is going to have the greatest resurgence of jobs in the history of America to work on these high-tech factories.
So they're not actually going to work in the factories. They're going to build the factories. And then what happens when all the factories are built? Again, it's the messaging that's muddied, and the harbingers of recession are now there. The harbingers of recession and bear markets, all that stuff is now there. If the president can turn this around or make the case to the American people that this is worth it, maybe he can escape doom next year. But otherwise, you're going to have an economic and electoral bloodbath next year that mirrors the market reaction today. This is just the political reality of it. It's not an opinion. I'm telling you that when the bond yield goes down and the barrel of oil goes down at the same time, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a recession, and it's going to happen this year. Now you've got J.P. Morgan, you've got Morgan Stanley, you've got Goldman Sachs, you've got Bank of America and others all coming out saying the warning signs are there for recession. The Fed has gone behind closed doors this morning to meet and assess the markets. We need to have some certainty, and we need to have less mixed messaging in the message in order to guide us how we're moving forward. Now, let's talk about banking, because you need a good American bank. I don't know if you've seen bank stocks today. Well, Old Glory Bank is going to be a dependable, great bank for you to use. Old Glory Bank is my bank. They're by conservatives, for conservatives. They would love to be your bank. If you go to oldglorybank.com today, you can fill out online the account information and get your account with Old Glory Bank. They do mortgages, car loans, CDs, you name it. Old Glory Bank is a full-service bank. They're headquartered in Oklahoma. They're by conservatives, for conservatives, so you don't have to worry about debanking trends. I like Old Glory Bank because they have great interest rates. I have a great savings and checking account. You can get a business checking account with them, business savings as well. They have very hands-on business loan officers if your business needs a loan. And if you're in a business like, for example, a gun store or something, Old Glory Bank is perfect for you because they're by conservative. So you're not going to have to worry about the debanking trends. Check out oldglorybank.com today. Oldglorybank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply.
Honest.
Putting your trust in me to tell you what's going on.
Transparent.
I need you to know this from the bottom of my heart.
Giving you the information without the noise.
My job isn't to tell you what you want to hear, it's to tell you the truth.
It's the Erick Erickson Show.
1253 Coolray Carrier WSB 24-hour traffic center. Earlier crash moved into the Gore on the 285 westbound ramp to I-75 northbound exit 20 there in Cobb County. A little bit of volume coming out of Sandy Springs. We also had a crash 85 southbound before 17th Street as you make the commute into Midtown. Was in the HOV lane. It has since totally cleared. You're slightly sluggish past that on the connector southbound as you leave 17th Street down toward North Avenue. Traffic brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
He's the guy at the desk next to you.
Why do you always go after the game show host of The Price is Right?
He's your co-pilot for the ride home.
Don't tell me how to handle my life.
Eric Von Hessler.
Or anyone else.
Today at 3.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Hi, this is Candace from Exovations, and have I got a tip for you. But today, instead of giving you a home remodeling tip, my tip is don't just take my word for it. For over 20 years, you've heard me on the radio sharing remodeling advice. But if you really want to know what sets Exovations apart, go read our reviews. At exovations.com, you'll find hundreds of real stories from real homeowners who have trusted us with their exterior remodeling projects. From decks, siding, windows, doors, paint, roofing, porticos, and so much more. You'll see words like amazing, amazing work, incredible experience from start to finish, and again, stress-free. That's not just what we say, it's what our customers say. So yes, I'm Candace from Exovations, but don't just listen to me. Listen to our reviews. At Exovations, we do projects on time, on budget, and without all that stress. Google Exovations or visit exovations.com.
Hey everyone, it's your buddy Shelly Winter here. Join me this Saturday at noon for The Car Guys with Kevin Deutsch from Butler Lexus of South Atlanta. Buy or lease, fix or sell, everything you want to know about cars, we will cover Saturday, noon to 1, right here on 95.5 WSB.
Guys, if you're having ED or performance issues and Viagra and Cialis haven't worked, you need to come see Choice Men's Health. Give us a call or visit us online at choicemenshealth.com. Get your love life back and choose Choice Men's Health.
If you've been taught that all bread is unhealthy, I'm here to tell you not if it's real bread. Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. If you're struggling with weight gain, high cholesterol, constipation, even warts, or kids who seem to be constantly sick, come visit us at the Bread Becker store in Woodstock, where we have taught thousands of customers that real bread might be their healthy solution. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've studied the incredible health benefits of real whole grains and bread. I discovered that store-bought bread has had most of the nutrients in the grain removed during milling, and yes, even packages labeled 100% whole wheat. Make a healthy eating change in your life at Bread Beckers in Woodstock. We'll show you how bread, but only real bread, might be the answer to your family's physical ills. The Bread Beckers. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
Hey, it's Scott Slade for FGA Roofing. If your home's exterior could use an updated look, or maybe one of your neighbor's designer roofs has caught your eye, and your current roof has started to show its age, then now's the perfect time to check out FGA Roofing for the latest in architectural shingles, timberland shingles, and more. Slate, tile, wood shake, cedar roofs, FGA has them all. FGA Roofing offers 0% financing for 12 months with your good credit. Get the roof you want now and pay over time. Click firstgaroof.com. That's firstgaroof.com.
WSB Atlanta, WSB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Get Eric's daily show prep email. Text DATA to 33777 and you'll be in the know.
Well, 7 Republicans have now signed on to the Trade Review Act. That would allow Congress to weigh in on new tariffs and cancel them. Grassley, Moran, Murkowski, Tillis, Young, McConnell, Collins. That gets you enough to pass the Senate. Whether or not it get through the House is a different matter, but clearly Republicans are starting to take action. It becomes a matter of self-preservation. The party in the White House typically doesn't do well in the midterms, and the Republicans are getting nervous over the economy. So they're starting to take action. We will see where this thing leads, however. When we come back, we got much more we got to talk about, including taking your phone calls, 877-973-7425. But before I even take your phone calls, we got to talk about what happened this weekend with the left. It was a religious service. They went out into the streets on Saturday, gathering with progressive pastors from progressive dying denominations to declare hands off my country, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Did you feel it? Did you feel it? Did you feel the energy? I bet not. I didn't either. We'll talk about it and laugh at it when we come back. And these people are getting shrill and dangerous in their rhetoric.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get your second month free for a limited time. You'll get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the Big Wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month. Here's Veronica and Jackie, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
And now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free when they use promo code SECONDFREE. Just call, click, or bring us your bill and see how much you can save. Because when it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and use code SECONDFREE to get a free second month. Real people pay to share their opinions, and this ad plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
News, weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. The markets have been fluctuating all day, quite a bit. The Trump tariffs and the unknown being blamed. Kennesaw State University economics professor Roger Tutterow says things could change.
I think President Trump has a track record of being able to pivot and change his direction pretty quickly. And so I don't think we necessarily will see these tariffs remain in place over a long period.
And Trump doubles down, though, on his sweeping tariffs. Jill Schlesinger on what the turbulence and uncertainty could mean long term.
If they stay in place for a period of time, I'm talking more than 4 to 6 weeks, we're likely to see an economy that will slow down, perhaps slide into a recession, and we're also going to see prices start to rise. That combination, that's called stagflation, stagnating economy, inflation. And it's very difficult because the Fed is kind of stuck in a corner when you have that situation.
All right, let's take a look at the markets. The Dow right now is down 522 at 37,792. NASDAQ is also down slightly, and so is the S&P. The S&P is down more than 0.5% right now. All right, your weather. The rain should be ending this afternoon. Afternoon highs around 65, says Channel 2 Action News meteorologist Brad Nitz. And following this morning's severe weather, Augusta National has been forced to suspend today's practice round and evacuate the grounds. That happened just before 11:30 today. Stay with us. We'll let you know when and if you're going to be allowed to get back in there in Augusta today. A Coweta County deputy has ended up in the county jail.
After being asked by Coweta County to look into an incident involving one of its own deputies, the GBI found enough evidence to arrest 29-year-old Justin Alexander Woods of Hogansville. The GBI says witnesses corroborated evidence showing Woods used excessive force during an argument with an inmate who was fully restrained at the time. Woods is facing charges of battery, simple battery, and violation of oath by public officer. He was booked into the county jail. Anyone with more information about the incident is asked to call the GBI. Lisa Nicholas, 95.5 WSB.
The Trump administration is asking the Supreme Court to stop a federal judge's deadline for the return of a mistakenly deported man from El Salvador. The judge's deadline set for midnight tonight. And there is a recall, a Frito-Lay recall. They're recalling some of their corn tortilla chips because they may contain nacho cheese made with real milk and can cause issues for people that are allergic or have sensitivity to milk. The recall affects the 13-ounce bags, and they were available to purchase as of March 7th. The chips were sold in grocery, drug, and convenience stores in over a dozen states, including here in Georgia. More information online, WSBRadio.com.
It's Eric Erickson here. Every single day now, I deal with a malicious request to click a link. My daughter the other day got a text message some of you have probably gotten. Click on it and pay your toll, and it's just a scam. All these things keep happening. They're preying upon the young, senior citizens, and you and me. But there's good news. Vision Computer is here to help you. If you have their managed service, you're never alone, and in just 15 seconds, expert tech support is at your fingertips, ready to protect you from online threats, scams, and computer problems. And you don't have to take my word for it. We're a Vision Computer household, but they've got thousands of 5-star reviews beyond my household reviews, but I'd give them 5 stars too. They've got thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews because they're simply the best. Call them at 404-COMPUTE today or visit them online at visioncomputers.com, because when it comes to your security, you can't afford to wait. Vision will take care of you. Tell them I sent you. Call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com.
Men, trouble in the bedroom? Not anymore. Priority Men's Medical Center restores your love life in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Priority Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Priority Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. You'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients get their testosterone checked free. Call 404-885-8885. 404-885-8885. To restore your love life in just one visit, call now 404-885-8885.
Looking to get organized in style? The brand new Artisan Custom Closet showroom is now open near Trilla Studios in Fayetteville. Come experience the Artisan difference. Meet with a designer for your free consultation and start your custom project today. See more at artisancustomclosets.com.
Live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams in the WSB 24-hour traffic center.
Brake lights improving. 285 westbound, the outer loop out of Sandy Springs from Riverside Drive over to 75. Where we had that crash moved into the Gore on the 285 west ramp to I-75 northbound. 75 north, seeing some brake lights between Marietta and Kennesaw. You're a little slow from North Marietta Parkway heading up toward Chastain Road. And if you're traveling in Gwinnett County, 85 northbound, tapping the brakes, leaving Jimmy Carter up to Beaver Ruin. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz. Rain tapers off today, some clearing late. Today's high 65. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, low 44, high 61.
And folks are still cleaning up from this morning's severe weather. Flights have been impacted. We have had wait times more than 80 minutes today. At last check, it was just around 30 minutes as far as security wait lines, and hundreds of flights had to be delayed or canceled because of the weather. 60 degrees in Lithia Springs. Brazelton has 66 degrees. Here in Midtown Atlanta, it is 63 under cloudy skies and some scattered showers. We will have more news at 1:30, breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It is Erick Erickson here across America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, give you a live look at the markets right now. Well, it's just bad. The Dow is down a lot. NASDAQ is recovered a little bit, but it's still down. The S&P is down. It just hasn't been good. 3 days down. We're in bear market territory. Growing body of groups believe that a recession is coming, and that is causing a level of economic panic. The president is telling people not to panic. The problem is that it's just easier to tell people not to panic than it actually is to keep people from panicking. He says, don't be a panican. A word I have now muted on social media. It's amazing how many people are so easily manipulated that they immediately rush to the new shiny word, whether it's Republican or Democrat. It's just kind of embarrassing. I don't want to talk about any of that, though. I do want to take your phone calls, 877-973-7425. Just be patient with me. We'll get to your phone calls. But before I do, I got to talk about this weekend. If you haven't seen the media coverage, progressives took to the streets on Saturday a hands-off America protest. Hands off this, hands off that. It was directed at Elon Musk. It was directed at Donald Trump. They want Republicans hands off everything. Some of them were out there claiming, for example, that Liberation Day will actually be the day that Donald Trump dies or is killed. They actually were saying stuff like that. These people are unhinged. They are nuts. They are angry. The common thread here is it's religious. We're a week before Palm Sunday, and they're marching in the streets, and they've got clergy with them. Unitarian pastors, United Church of Christ pastors, Episcopalian pastors with them, echoing their religious calls. It is a religious movement, and you've got to understand this as a way to diagnose yourself as well. And this is why I want to spend this time with it here. What does religion have? Now, I'm not talking about Christianity per se. I'm talking about religion in general. Religion has priests and temples, holy buildings to worship. Religions have song. Religions have some form of sacrifice, typically. Religions have forms of penance. Religions have liturgies. Religions have ways to participate to make your soul feel better. And that is the dominant aspect of it. We had communion at my church yesterday. We don't do it every week in our church because there are some strong admonishments in 1 Corinthians about taking communion, the Lord's Supper, without your heart having a chance to prepare for it. A lot of churches do it every week. I don't know that I'd want to go to a church that does it every week. I think it just becomes this kind of rote thing. It's not as big a deal. But I needed the communion this way. I knew we were going to do it, and I normally don't, because I really hate grapes. And I was in my 20s before I would take the grape juice wine portion of communion. And my pastor told me, you kind of have to. And so I do it begrudgingly. I really hate grapes. But I do it. And this was one of those rare weeks where, like, you know what? I need to be with the body of believers, and I need to be in communion. It did my soul good to be in church, and to be with the body of believers, to take the Lord's Supper together. It really did something for me this week that often it doesn't. I needed it. People sometimes need church. They need that communion of believers. They need that unity of purpose. And there really is something on a Sunday to get in a church. You're singing holy, holy, holy. Everybody is singing. The message is on point. Something happens in the church service to every single person who is called to be there. And whatever it is, and it's not the same for every person. It's not. But something happens in the church service. Maybe it's the prayer. Maybe it's a line in a prayer. Maybe it's the sermon. Maybe it's an opening hymn. Maybe it's a scripture verse that's read. Something in passing, and it pierces your heart and your soul, and you say, God meant that one for me. Irrespective of everybody else in the church, something happens in that church service, something random, something small, something no one else pays attention to, but it pierces you in the heart right then and there. Your mind has drifted off. You're thinking about the week. You're thinking about your grocery list. You're thinking about what's for supper, and then suddenly you hear it, and just bam, that was meant for me. That was a God thing. Now, if you've never been to church, you probably haven't experienced that. You've experienced something like that in life, close maybe. But that's what it was on Saturday for these progressives. It was a religious experience. It was a communal gathering of believers of this secular paganism, who, instead of getting up and going to church on Sunday, although some of them will, many of them, they gather together and protest, because protest is religious worship for the left. And they came together, and I guarantee you there was a moment, just like I had on Sunday in church, somebody, all of them, most of them had a moment on Saturday where someone said something or something happened, and it's just bam, it affected their soul, it pierced their heart. They're like, this is for me. And they go for the same reason I go to church, because they need the experience. They need to be encouraged. And it's encouraging to them when they see all these people here. But the problem here is what? It's politics. I have a one-on-one relationship with my Savior. Your relationship with him does not matter to me necessarily. It doesn't affect me necessarily. But it's a relationship with a transcendental God. And I can go to heaven or to hell, irrespective of you. But these people on Saturday, It's a communal thing. Their relationship to their God is politics. And so politics goes the way the people go. And so when the people vote their way, they are affirmed. But when the people vote against them, they feel like they're being punished, divine retribution for them. You should talk to some of these people about Donald Trump getting elected. They didn't see it coming. Many of them really believed the country had transcended Trump, had moved on from Trump. And now they're like, oh, the nation is bad. The people are bad. America is bad. I can't tell you the number of people I have talked to on the left in the last couple of months who actually think the country is bad now. Bad because we're deporting illegal aliens. Bad because of whatever policy Trump is doing. Bad because they're cutting Washington, D.C. The country is sinful and bad and needs to be punished. That's where the left is right now. And the redemption, their redeeming act is to protest. It is a liturgical, ecclesiastical event for the left to get in the streets and protest because it makes them feel like they are doing something. You know, Christianity really is the most unique religion because instead of giving you a way to live your life, it gives you a man. Every other religion on the planet gives you a rule book, a guidebook. This is how you live your life to get salvation. And with the left, the guidebook is get in the streets and protest, get in the streets and disrupt, do good trouble. That's what they say, that the John Lewis quote, good trouble. They want good trouble. That's what they need. Good trouble is their path to salvation. And what is good about it? Well, they define good. They define right and wrong for themselves. The problem is that good trouble in secularism trends towards the violent. And a lot of these people got on the streets and they began to champion violence towards Trump and his administration. Some of them chanting about Trump needs to die, or Elon Musk needs to die. Secularism has a tendency to turn violent. I've said it before. I will keep saying it because it's true. All these people who tried out the Crusades or religious wars around the country, secular religion, secular atheism has tended to kill more people than all the religious wars on the planet. The Nazis were not a religious people. They hated God. They persecuted and killed a lot of priests. They believed in worship of the state. They tried to twist Christianity into it. The Nazis killed a lot of people. The Soviets killed a lot of people. The Chinese communists killed a lot of people. Pol Pot killed a lot of people. The North Koreans killed a lot of people. These are secularists. Their God is the state. Politics is their religion. And their eschatology is that they can't have heaven on earth as long as the heretics are around. The heretics have got to be ended one way or the other. So they march in the streets today. They'll be violent tomorrow if things don't go their way. But it actually is kind of a remarkable situation to watch progressives get up on a Saturday morning. They won't get up on Sunday to go to church. Oh my gosh, no. But they'll get up on a Saturday and they'll take to the streets, many of them wearing pink for God knows what reason, protesting against Donald Trump. And it was all about making themselves feel better. It wasn't about changing anything. It wasn't about changing the world. It wasn't about ousting Donald Trump. It was about making themselves feel like they had done something. It was about seeing other people there to know they're not alone, that they weren't isolated. It very much was like me going to church on Sunday. I needed to be there. I knew it was Communion Sunday, and I really felt like I needed to be there among the body of believers. My soul needed it. Their souls needed it. The difference is I can recognize it is religious, and they do not believe in religion. You know, there's no such thing as an atheist. People call themselves an atheist, and many of the people marching the streets on Saturday view themselves as atheists. There's no such thing as an atheist. Everybody worships something. Where you send most of your money tends to show you what you worship. And if you say you don't send your money out anywhere, well, then maybe you're worshiping yourself. But all these people were worshiping something. It wasn't the God of the universe. It was the politics of the age that they agree with. And they were there standing on the street corner protesting Donald Trump because their religious commitment compelled them to. The difference is, well, they don't actually have a God pulling the strings of the universe. They think that they do. If they don't get their way in November in the midterms, well, it's going to go very badly for a lot of people who are going to have psychic breaks because they just feel like something's got to be done. But, you know, As much as I'm worried about a recession and Donald Trump, the fact of the matter is that the Democrats are still the most hated party in America right now. And these people don't seem to understand that.
Honest.
Putting your trust in me to tell you what's going on.
Transparent.
I need you to know this from the bottom of my heart.
Giving you the information without the noise.
My job isn't to tell you what you want to hear, it's to tell you the truth.
It's the Eric Erickson Show.
119 Coolray Carrier WSB 24-hour traffic center. Got a new crash between Marietta and Kennesaw. Left lane knocked out. 75 northbound, 575 exit 268. So you're slow back toward North Marietta Parkway. Crash still in the Gore on the 285 westbound ramp to I-75 north in Cobb County. It's causing some delays out of Sandy Springs from around Riverside Drive. Traffic brought to you by Lear Capital. Our financial system is cracking under pressure. Your retirement is at risk. Take control now. Lear Capital is offering a free Sky High Silver Report and Precious Metals IRA guide at betternestegg.com. Don't leave your future to chance. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
The latest news, weather, and traffic.
Big crash here. Heavy police and official.
Don't leave for
The
work
DeKalb County Commission continues to look over options.
without checking in with Atlanta's Morning News.
Says Georgia is 19th best in the U.S. for remote workers.
Tomorrow morning at 5.
Wake up with 95.5 WSB.
How Atlanta starts its day.
It's the active season here in the ATL. Are you going to be active or inactive because of chronic joint pain? Hey, it's Mark Aaron back from my pals at QC Kinetics. I want you to know something. The medical pros at QC Kinetics right here in Atlanta are on the case and focused to finally get you the relief you need. With QC Kinetics, the science solid. They give you your life back without surgery, without drugs, and without any downtime. Get out and be active this summer. Golfing, swimming, tennis. Heck, pickleball seems to be picking up speed. Get out there and be active. Don't let your chronic joint pain hold you back. Curious if you'd be a candidate for these treatments? No problem. Consultation totally free, and they're happy to take a look and see if they can help you finally get relief. Call now and find out how easy it is to get back to enjoying life without chronic joint pain. Now, the best time to get started. Call QC Kinetics now, 770-285-8026. That's 770-285-8026 for QC Kinetics.
Hi, this is Candace from Exovations, and have I got a tip for you. But today, instead of giving you a home remodeling tip, my tip is don't just take my word for it. For over 20 years, you've heard me on the radio sharing remodeling advice. But if you really want to know what sets Exovations apart, go read our reviews. At exovations.com, you'll find hundreds of real stories from real homeowners who have trusted us with their exterior remodeling projects. From decks, siding, windows, doors, paint, roofing, porticos, and so much more. You'll see words like amazing work, incredible experience from start to finish, and again, stress-free. That's not just what we say, it's what our customers say. So yes, I'm Candace from Exovations, but don't just listen to me. Listen to our reviews. At Exovations, we do projects on time, on budget, and without all that stress. Google Exovations or visit EXOVATIONS.com.
Comcast Business helps turn today's small businesses into engines of modern business. It's how restaurants become reliably up and running neighborhood favorites. How retailers become seamlessly restocking, cyber-securing, must-visit shops. And how healthcare offices become the data managing caregivers that we all depend on. With reliable connectivity, enhanced cybersecurity, advanced fiber solutions, and Wi-Fi backup, Comcast Business is powering the engine of modern business. Powering possibilities.
Now through May 4th, new customers can get started with 300 megabit internet and Security Edge for $69 a month for 24 months. And ask how to get free installation on qualifying bundles. Plus, find out how to get a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying gig bundle. Call today. Restrictions apply. Not available in all areas. Requires enrollment and paperless billing and automatic payments with bank account. Equipment, taxes, and other fees extra. After 24 months, regular rates apply.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get your second month free for a limited time. You'll get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month. Here's Veronica and Jackie, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
And now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free when they use promo code SECONDFREE. Just call, click, or bring us your bill and see how much you can save. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and use code SECONDFREE to get a free second month. Real people pay to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
Giving you the truth, not the talking points. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
Greetings and welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the phones, I will begin with Susan. Calling, well, let's see. You know what? I have 3 monitors and have to get the mouse all the way across the screen. Susan, welcome to the show. How are you?
Well, I could be better. I'm just wondering that for a guy who supposedly went to Wharton for business school, he must have been absent on the day that they discussed trade deficits and surpluses.
It's wild that he's
angry.
had this view for decades.
Well, you know what? I'm 69 years old. I'm by myself. I took such a bath during the Obama recession that I just basically was able to finish climbing out of that about 3 or 4 years ago. And to have somebody who is, I mean, to me, this is just reckless. And I'm so angry. I'll be darned if I'll vote for another Republican again. The only Republican I would vote for at this point is Brian Kemp. All these other people, if nobody is setting him right, I mean, the problem is, okay, yeah, so we end up in a recession. It can take years to recover from something like that. These guys have a lot of money, so it's not that big of a hit for them. But for a lot of the little people like me, and I'm a college graduate, I've got a good job, but I'm worried whether my job will stay. You know, I am just furious that they are basically toying around with the economy. And, I think there are a lot of people in my position. I'm going to probably have, instead of retiring at probably 72 is what I was planning, I might have to work until I'm 80 years old. My retirement plans are all screwed up by this guy.
Listen, Susan, so I gotta say something to you. First of all, thanks very much for the phone call. But for those of you listening who are hardcore MAGA, you can't win an election without people in the coalition like Susan. And if she's that frustrated, what do you maybe there's a strategy here, and it is just wait and you'll see this will work. Be patient. Trust the president. Now, Susan's not going to trust the president, but if things come around and things do change, she stays in the coalition and says, you know what, turns out this really helped. But you've got these raw feelings right now of someone who's 69 years old who's looking at retirement and thinking the stock market's going down. And, you know, the frustrating part here is that a lot of Trump supporters' response today is that, well, I mean, the market's still up so much, it's only down by like 2%, but you're back to where you were in 2023. That's actually the Dow is down to where it was now back at 2023. So we've wiped out an entire year of gains in the stock market. And for someone on the verge of retirement, that matters. So keep that in mind. You've got to have a coalition to win. Republicans and Democrats cannot by themselves get themselves elected. You got to bring people into your coalition. And that's the danger of the inconsistency of messaging that people are dealing with right now when it comes to this. Now, Americans for Prosperity is trying to advance common sense conservative solutions around the country, and they would love to hear from you. You go to AmericansForProsperity.org today, sign up with them. I'm actually going to be in Orlando, broadcasting from WDBO tomorrow and doing an event for Americans for Prosperity in Orlando tomorrow night. Going to be a great time. They're bringing in their major activists from around the country to an event in Orlando. It's what they do every year. They have activists in every part of the country. They're the largest leading grassroots group in the country. And they advocate for common sense conservative solutions like school choice here in Georgia, in Texas, in Tennessee, in Oklahoma. They've been pushing for it. They push for common sense tax solutions, the policies that benefit families and small business. They'd love to have you on their side. All you have to do is go to americansforprosperity.org today. americansforprosperity.org. Sign up with AFP. Become a part of a movement advancing common sense conservative solutions around the country.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 1:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This news sponsored by Ben Hill Renovation. President Trump took to social media today telling investors not to panic after he imposed tariffs on other countries. Then the president threatened to increase tariffs against China even more.
President Trump Monday threatened to again increase tariffs on China if Beijing doesn't remove the retaliatory tariffs it placed on the U.S. The president said his administration would put additional tariffs on China of 50% effective Wednesday, April 9th. A senior White House official said this would be in addition to the 34% tariff President Trump announced last week, set to go into effect that same day. There are already 20% tariffs in place on China, which means there's a potential for a total of 104%. China called the Trump administration's policy, quote, economic bullying. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
Well, the rain is ending this afternoon with a high of 65. Today's severe weather earlier did cause the Masters to suspend today's practice round and clear the course. No word on if the gates will open back up later today or not. Check back for updates. An 18-year-old driver is busted for going 137 miles an hour on I-285 in Dunwoody. That teen driver was arrested and taken straight to jail. Speeds on 285 range from 55 to 65 miles an hour. A new men's college basketball champion is going to be crowned tonight. Florida is set to take on Houston in the national championship game in San Antonio. The Gators are making their first appearance in the championship game since winning back-to-back titles in 2006 and 2007. The Cougars have never won a national championship in the men's hoops. Houston's head coach saying that's not going to stop them from trying, though.
It took us a while to become who we are. But if you have a culture, quitting is not part of the deal.
Now, tip-off is set for 8:50 tonight. It's 1:32.
Dave Baker here for Artisan Custom Closets. Spring cleaning? Not a fan. However, ever since I had Artisan Custom Closets help me redesign my bedroom closet, spring cleaning has gotten a whole lot easier. See, Artisan helped me to design an affordable, luxurious closet system tailored to my needs. Every project they do is installed by an Artisan professional, generally in under a day. Schedule your free design consultation with the master designer at ArtisanCustomClosets.com. P.S. They did my garage too. I love it.
Listen up, because women have long waited for the world to recognize the importance of our health.
Northside Hospital goes beyond "we hear you" to "we're out here with you," because women deserve more than open ears.
They deserve open doors, and 1 ounce of action is worth 1,000 words.
Northside is rolling up our sleeves and getting to work for you.
This is a house call. Heard. Learn more at northside.com/heard.
So your septic system needs repairs. That stinks. First, they want to charge you to pump out the tank and charge you again for the repair. That's just wrong. Hi, I'm Shannon, owner of Scorpion Septic, and we don't do that. With us, there's never a pump out charge with your repair. You'll save hundreds.
Take the sting out of septic service with Scorpion Septic, where there is never a pump out charge with your repair. Call for more information.
ScorpionSepticServices.com. Are you facing a fork in the road and deciding between continuing your career and retirement? I'm Wes Moss, host of Money Matters, and this massive life decision shouldn't be taken lightly. Talk with my team if you'd like help reviewing your retirement accounts and building a financial plan. We can help you review options and offer an opinion based on your best interests. You can find us at yourwealth.com. That's YOUR wealth.com.
While spring in Georgia can be a more comfortable season, we all know it's a precursor to our sweltering summer. Hi, this is Daniel Jape. Make sure your air conditioning system is ready all summer long with our maintenance checkup today from Jape Services. And if you happen to need to replace an aging system, now's a great time. We have excellent financing options, rebates, and even a federal tax credit. Call us 24/7 to book your appointment or book online at japeservices.com.
Count on us, Jape Services.
Alex Williams, how are we looking on the roads?
2 crashes in Gwinnett County. One 85 northbound at Steve Reynolds Boulevard, exit 103. That knocks out the right lane. And also a southbound crash, mostly off to the left. 85 southbound at Beaver Ruin Road, exit 102. But that's also causing delays between Duluth and Norcross. And left lane crash still there in Cobb County. 75 northbound at I-5. 75, the reason for the delays through Marietta. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm Channel 2 Action News Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz. Rain tapers off today. Some clearing late. Today's high 65. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, low 44, high 61.
63 degrees in Midtown. Tucker has 61 at 61 in Sandy Springs. More news at 2 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Smart, fearless, and occasionally funny. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Well, there is some news I've got to bring you up to speed with. A bit of a troubling sign up front. Without more to it, the White House has announced it is canceling a press conference between the president and Benjamin Netanyahu. They have not given a response as to why. There's a meeting happening between Netanyahu and President Trump in the Oval Office. The press conference was expected. There will now be joint statements made in the Oval Office, but no Q&A. My suspicion, although there is no confirmation, that the meeting's been delayed by 30 minutes, and the president probably doesn't want to talk about the markets necessarily right now. However, you do need to know as the day goes on, the NASDAQ is not trending down nearly as bad, and the Dow is only down now 430 points. It's been a very wild ride on the market today. So I'm continuing. The markets have gone up, they've gone down. It's positive territory, the negative territory, and bouncing all over the place today, which is actually not a terrible sign, and it's not a terrible sign because it means the markets may actually be kind of waiting and seeing how this plays out. Now, the main reason the markets are waiting to see how this plays out is because I got woken up this morning with a 6 a.m. phone call about this from someone in Trump orbit saying they do expect him to pause the tariffs this week. There are so many countries, they're going to say, that wish to negotiate the tariffs. They don't want the tariffs to go into effect. They'll do a 90-day timeout. And that is one of the big issues that you gotta keep in mind as this plays out, that if there is a pause for any reason, whatever the excuse, it's probably going to settle the markets a little bit. The problem, though, becomes uncertainty. Just think about this. If the president pauses the tariffs and says, hey, so many countries want to negotiate, let's pause. I thought the tariffs were a good in and of themselves to restore domestic manufacturing to the country and boost revenue. So now we're okay getting rid of them. What then happens to the revenue? At the same time, it actually would be good to pause the tariffs. People are going to wonder, does this apply to the auto tariffs? Does this apply to, is this baseline tariffs are off the 10% or the extra tariff? Is that off? How long is it going to stay off? Is it going to go into effect at all? There will still be so many questions. You're still going to have a lot of money that's left on the sidelines instead of reinvesting. Now, concurrent to all this, the president has suggested today he also wants to get rid of the capital gains tax. That would be a very good way to offset the effects of tariffs. The problem, however, gets into the Senate and the House negotiation over the budget. There's not really room to be able to get rid of the capital gains tax because of the Senate baseline of the budget. I will get to that. It is a little boring, but you got to understand it. But before I do, I want to go to Ivan, who's been waiting patiently. Ivan, welcome to the Eric Erickson Show.
Thank you, Eric, for taking my call. I've not heard you or anyone else talk about tariffs on oil specifically. So does that just depend on which countries, like we get oil for Canada and other countries? What have you heard about that?
So so the president exempted most oil for tariffs. So energy, rare earths, precious metals. Now there is a tax. There is a basic tariff on Canadian and Mexican oil imports into the country, which we don't have a ton. And by and large, we produce enough oil domestically that it doesn't matter. But oil is exempted from the tariffs. Oil, precious metals, gold, silver, platinum, and then rare earth metals are all exempted from tariffs.
Okay.
Yep. But now I will tell you, it's just side note here, Ivan. I mean, this is the headline right now is that U.S. crude is collapsing to the lowest level since 2021 on fears of a recession. So that's going to bring down the price, which is fantastic. But why is the price expected to come down? Because they expect an economic slowdown in the country. Larry Fink of BlackRock was quoted this morning as saying now is a buying opportunity. But can I give you the full quote from Larry Fink or the full synopsis of what Larry Fink actually says? Because a lot of people out there circulating this today that Larry Fink says it's a buying opportunity. And yes, that's what Larry Fink said. But he also said, quote, this is more evidence of a slowdown in the economy in the coming months. We are probably in a recession right now that will be felt further out. And, quote, if all proposed tariffs go into place, the markets could go another 20% down, which will make it a buying opportunity. This is the propagandists on the right are saying, oh, Larry Fink says we're going to have a buying opportunity. Yeah, why? Because he thinks the markets are going to crash another 20%, which is really going to hurt people close to retirement. Can I just, as an aside here, I am so unbelievably frustrated with the level of intellectual dishonesty of so many people on the right. When I see these guys out there who, when the stock market fell when Joe Biden was president by 1% or 2%, blasting Joe Biden, and now the stock market is back to where it was in 2023. They're like, it's no big deal. It's all digital. It's all fake. Screw your retirement. You don't need to retire anyway. This is good for us. The level of mendacity and dishonesty, the number of people who circulated a Larry Fink from BlackRock today, quote, saying it was a buying opportunity, and they deleted the part that it's a buying opportunity after he expects the stock market to fall another 20% because we're in a recession and it's going to get worse. I can't tell you, and I don't want to tell you who to listen to. But when you have people who only a couple of years ago were telling you tariffs are a tax and now saying tariffs aren't a tax, or people who 2 years ago were criticizing the stock market falling under Joe Biden who now say it's no big deal, I find that level of mendacity and lying and dishonesty to be utterly appalling, particularly among people you would think would show a modicum of intellectual honesty just for the sake of consistency, but they've got no shame. It's propaganda. You may disagree with me, but don't ever think I'm not telling you something that I don't believe. I always tell you what I believe and what I think, and I can be wrong, and I have a very good record of telling you when I am wrong. What I find so frustrating, though, are the number of people who like to point out when I've been wrong who never, ever will admit they're wrong. In fact, what I suspect is going to happen is we are going to have a recession, and I suspect when we get into the recession and it becomes real and apparent, people who said we're not going to have a recession will deny that the recession is because of the tariffs. Everything that's happening is predictable, and when those predictions happen, people instead decide it's some sort of conspiracy. It's some sort of great conspiracy. The globalists are conspiring to hurt Donald Trump. No. What's happening and playing out is exactly what everyone predicted would play out if you imposed tariffs. It's not some sort of conspiracy. It was an obvious thing to happen. Now, if I'm wrong, I will gladly tell you I'm wrong for the sake of intellectual honesty. I have repeatedly in the past pointed out times that I've been wrong, and people love to hang on to those and pay no attention to the times that I'm right. And those people very often refuse to acknowledge they're wrong. And so many of them, the common thread is they are listening to and embracing people who are liars, who are willing to lie to them for profit. It is remarkable to see people who have decided the only way for them to make a living is to hop a gravy train, and they're going to go down on a sinking ship. They don't care about intellectual honesty. They do not care about the future. They do not even care about the country, and yet they lecture you, claiming that you should care about the country, not yourself or your family. You know, we are a nation of families. We should be caring about our family first, and then we have a better country. By the way, what do these people have in common? Many of them are young and do not have families. Just the level of mendacity of people on the right to lie to you these days, complaining or defending the same behaviors they attacked Joe Biden for, is just utterly appalling to me. I at least like to have intellectual consistency and honesty, even if I'm wrong. And again, I'll admit it. These people never will. Now, let's go to Alex's phone call. Alex, welcome to the show. Thanks for being patient.
Hey, Eric. You know, all these thoughts and everything about tariffs going up to bring back manufacturing jobs, you're never going to bring back manufacturing jobs in this country if you don't do something about the corporate tax rate. I mean, this is out of control. You got to make this a tax haven, just like your old buddy Neil Bush used to talk about back in the day. So I just think it's a pipe dream, thinking that we're going to bring back, you know, the factories where the widgets can be created or the shoes or whatever it may be. Along with the cost of doing business here, you know, with respect to the cost of labor, wages aren't going down; they're just going up. And you know, for all these people that think that, oh, we can help the middle class by, you know, bringing back factories and this and that, you know, your point that you made earlier was very accurate. Where people in the middle class that grew up in the middle class are getting out of the middle class. I grew up in a small town in Northern California where most of us were middle class, you know? However, most of us now, not everybody, but a lot of my friends and I, we actually do better than our parents. We live in nicer houses. We drive nicer cars. And, you know, it's because of the level of whether it's education or the marketable skill that we gained, we've been able to kind of move up a little bit of the level. I think that's what the people that are stuck in the middle class now, I truly believe that if they can focus on developing more of a marketable skill instead of, oh, I hope the factories come back to town and this and that, they're going to pull themselves out of there.
Look, I don't think Republicans appreciate the level of fire that they're playing with in this, Alex. People put a bet on Donald Trump that he would restore the economy, and if we head into a recession and grocery prices go up because of tariffs, that's going to feel like a betrayal to a lot of people. Maybe not as base, but to a lot of Americans, it's going to feel like a betrayal, and that is my concern. I do not want the Democrats to come sweeping back into power because they will have learned no lessons. They will not have fixed their cultural excesses, and so we need Donald Trump to stay elected. And we're not going to get. We need somebody to come after him in 2028 who's going to protect us from the Democrats. And when you wreck the economy, or you're blamed for wrecking the economy, it's just not good. By the way, China is basically saying, "To hell with you, Donald Trump." That they are not going to negotiate. Donald Trump is now saying he's going to raise the total tariff on China up to 104%. That's actually going to kill a lot of American companies. Apple's taking a beating over this, and it's just, you know, to Alex's point, though, you know what you could do instead of tariffs? You could massively deregulate, get rid of the corporate income tax, and you would cause a lot of companies to repatriate. I mean, just compare unionized states to right-to-work states. Back in 1954, John F. Kennedy wrote an op-ed complaining about manufacturing moving to the South where it was cheaper to do business. And it has stayed as the South embraced non-union wages, right to work. The economies of southern states have grown. I mean, look at my state, Georgia. We've got Home Depot, Delta, Coca-Cola, Porsche, Mercedes. South Carolina has Boeing and BMW. Alabama has Mercedes, big Hyundai plants, Kia plants all over the South, Toyota in Tennessee. It's because those states deregulated and cut taxes. And many of these states have no income tax for corporations. If the federal government would get rid of the corporate income tax and deregulate and make right to work the default in this nation, we would be attracting a lot of jobs that have moved overseas, but they won't do it. And you've got too many people in the president's realm these days who are too pro-union to recognize union wages, union rates, and union rules and labor rules in this country have driven a lot of companies abroad. And if you're not going to fix that, Raising tariffs isn't going to fix the economic crisis in the country. It's just going to continue to raise costs, and that will trickle down to the poor and the middle class who will pay higher prices without necessarily getting the higher wages to offset it. That's a problem. It is, again, Economics 101. You don't have to have a degree in this. Take a basic economics class. Now, while you can get it, you can get 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms still and save $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3. EdenPureDeals.com. What are they? They're filterless air purifiers. So they use electrostatic plates to trap particles, dust, pet dander, pollen. We've needed them around here these days. The pollen's so bad. And then they also wipe out odors, bacteria, and viruses. The odors, complete elimination. Bacteria and viruses, 99.9%. They generate ozone, which touches the ionized particles that form odors and wipe them out. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm, you can get one for upstairs, one for downstairs, one for your basement, your travel bag, your RV. You can hold it in your hand, plug it up with a USB cord. They're great. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3, no space. ERIC, the number 3, ERIC3 at EdenPureDeals.com. Get 3 of them. Start wiping out the odors wherever they are. Use it in a rental car with a USB cord. Plug it into the wall in your house. They just work. EdenPureDeals.com. Discount code ERIC3.
Those who love him, listen to find out what he's going to say next. Those who disagree with him, also listen to see what he's going to say next. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
150 Coolray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Still trying to clean up this inbound crash in Gwinnett County that's been in the HOT lane and on the left shoulder, 85 southbound. Beaver Ruin Road exit 102. You're stacked up leaving Highway 316. The northbound crash in the same area right at Steve Reynolds Boulevard, exit 103. That is cleared off to the right, but still on and off the brakes out of Norcross, actually really leaving I-285 Spaghetti Junction. And we've had a crash in Cobb County, but in the left lane, it is about to clear 75 northbound at I-575, slowing you from South Marietta Parkway. Traffic brought to you by Lear Capital. Our financial system is cracking under pressure. Your retirement is at risk. Take control now. Lear Capital is offering a free Sky High Silver Report and Precious Metals IRA guide at betternestegg.com. Don't leave your future to chance. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
When news breaks,
stocks tanked again today.
That affects your money.
We erased nearly 1 year of gains.
We've got it covered.
Dow is down more than 2,200 points. 3 major indices all closed down almost 6%.
What comes next and what it all means to your money.
At the closing bell, the numbers are horrific.
For up-to-the-minute coverage of the markets in turmoil, tune in often throughout the day for the very latest. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's breaking news station.
Guys, if you're having ED or performance issues and Viagra and Cialis haven't worked, you need to come see Choice Men's Health. Give us a call or visit us online at choicemenshealth.com. Get your love life back and choose Choice Men's Health.
Hey folks, it's Eric Erickson here. Well, it's Trump 2.0 now, and things are changing quickly. Every day, changes to taxes, tariffs, foreign policy, moving at a pace we haven't seen in a very long time, definitely not in the last 4 years. What about your retirement plan? Many of you know about the Magnificent Seven stocks like Apple, Amazon, Meta. They've been behind a lot of the market's recent growth. I saw my buddy David Nicholas on Stuart Varney show the other day. David is my wife's and my financial advisor, and he was talking about what he calls the MAGA 7 stocks and sectors he thinks are going to have the most opportunity in this new Trump administration era. Well, you know, David gave my wife and me a complimentary Morningstar analysis. It's $1,000 value, but right now my listeners can get it complimentary. He's going to give you guys what he gave my wife and me. If you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, call Nicholas Wealth Management. Get this unbelievably valuable analysis for free. David and his team will review it with you, give you some total clarity, and get you ready for your nest egg in this new era. So if you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, please go to nicholaswealth.com. That's NICHOLAS wealth.com. Or call 678-990-8500. That's 678-990-8500 or nicholaswealth.com.
Nicholas Wealth Management is an independent financial services firm and uses a variety of different investment strategies. This is prepared for informational purposes only. It does not address specific investment objectives or the financial situation and particular needs of any person who listens to this show. Eric Erickson is a current client and is paid for this ad.
Our weather is so unpredictable and your roof takes all the abuse. If it needs repair or replacement, think of Findlay First, the roof guys, the perfect match for any roofing issues. Schedule your free roof analysis at findlayroofing.com. Roof.
WSB Atlanta.
WSBB FM and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Do you frequently ask family and friends to repeat themselves? Do you struggle to understand conversations when you're at a restaurant, missing important life moments? Hi, this is Dr. Prince from Atlanta Hearing Associates, and we can help you hear better again. At Atlanta Hearing Associates, we combine the latest technology with compassionate care given by doctors of audiology to help you successfully manage hearing loss and get back to enjoying your life to the fullest. We offer hearing tests for individuals of all ages with easy online scheduling at hereatlanta.com. Symptoms: your hearing is muffled or words are not clear. It's difficult to hear when there is background noise. You turn the TV volume way up. If you notice any of these symptoms, it's time to have a hearing test. Come on in and see us at Atlanta Hearing Associates. Easy online scheduling is available at hereatlanta.com. HEAR Atlanta.com.
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Next, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. Please forgive me if anything that I talk about is redundant, because I just happened to be driving and
that's all right.
Came across your show and you said something that really just thrilled me. I heard you mention how Republicans people on the right are being kind of like two-faced about things that they would complain about with Biden that they didn't do with Trump. So just hearing a conservative talk show admit that gave you major points to me.
Well, I appreciate it.
I'm a lifelong Democrat who reluctantly voted for Trump for reasons I'll give you at the end if I have time after. But what I want to talk about is the tariffs. Okay, about 20 years ago, I found a product, a little niche, because I've always been an entrepreneur, and I started making cat trees, cat furniture. And I make some of the best cat furniture you ever want to see. I found a way to make my cat furniture literally almost cost-free. I found a place to get carpet free. I found a place to get wood free from construction sites, and I was building cat trees, just from the cost of nails and staples. And I still could not price them cheaper than they are in some of the pet stores and online. And you're talking about getting almost all of my material free. Mm-hmm. So my selling pitch had to be, this is not your stuff from China. And tell the customers, it's robust, it's heavy, it's solid wood. And that worked for about 15 years. But then the people start getting to the point where, I can get it for $75 from from PetSmart. Mm-hmm. I can't even ship my product to you for $75. So as long as the American people accept price point as their primary reason for buying a product, we're going to be in a position that we are. There was a time where Made in America was just a selling point. But I remember being a kid and watching the news, and people were rioting because they found out somebody was manufacturing their shoes in the third world country. And it was riots and it was fire, because we know what goes on in these third world countries, how they treat their people, the wages, the conditions. That meant something to Americans. That was
Mike,
made us sick to our stomach. But it's not that way no more. We don't care no more about human rights, about those things. So that's why we're in the position we are. So don't be mad at Trump. Be mad at the consumers for accepting that. We spend our money on that crap.
Look, you're not wrong, and this is what I keep trying to tell friends of mine who are solidly pro-Trump is consumers want cheap prices, and one of the main reasons they want cheap prices, Mike, is because if they can buy something for less, it frees up their money for other things, and a lot of people have their kids in private schools, so you buy cheap stuff, it frees up money for that. You make stuff more expensive, people are going to have to begin sacrificing. Do they sacrifice their kids' education? Do they scale back the amount of clothes, the cars they buy? All of that has economic effects that Republicans can't ignore. When people have to spend their money and they don't have as much money as they once had, and they already don't because of Joe Biden, Donald Trump said he would make it better and comes in and makes it worse, there's going to be hell to pay from the voters because they'll feel like Donald Trump broke his word. And if he wants to sell it as short-term pain for long-term gain, he's got to sell it. And Frankly, I don't think his administration is doing a very good job selling what he means by that. He's just saying it. He's tweeting it. You might be able to convince people, but you got to actually get out there and explain it to them. And that's not happening. His administration's talking past it. There are ways to mitigate this, and they're not actually doing what they need to do to mitigate it.
Hope. It's more than a word. It's a breakthrough in the making. At City of Hope, we're pushing the boundaries of science, targeting cancer at the molecular level, with teams of experts working together to personalize a treatment plan right down to your DNA with unprecedented speed, making every second count, with appointments in as little as 24 hours. City of Hope, advancing cancer care at life-saving speed. Learn more at cityofhope.org.
Window Nation customers have been singing our praises for years. With fast, local service and an industry-leading 96% customer satisfaction rating, it's no wonder.
I researched window companies for the last year to see what the average prices were and the quality of work. Window Nation nailed both.
Right now, get 4 windows free with every 4 you buy, plus no interest for 2 years. Hurry, this offer ends soon. Schedule a free estimate now. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90-NATION.
News, weather,
Traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
At 2 o'clock, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top story. It's a WSB Money Update. Stock market roller coaster. Kennesaw State University economics professor Roger Tutterow says it is going to be a bumpy ride.
The smartest thing to do is to continue to keep your eye on the market, but understand that volatility is going to be the norm going forward.
At this hour, the Dow making up some lost ground. It's down 51 points after falling substantially lower earlier in the day, and after falling early today, the NASDAQ and S&P are now both in positive territory for the day. And if, with investors nervous, Bloomberg's Tom Busby reports there's been some pressure on the White House to pause tariffs.
Traders have only gotten denials that a reported pause on tariffs is in the works, and threats from the president in an online post about raising his current tariffs against China to 50% starting on Wednesday unless Beijing lowers its own tariffs on U.S. imports by tomorrow.
65 degrees in Atlanta. Are we done with the rain for today? Meteorologist Christina Edwards has Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. There is some scattered damage reported in parts of South Metro Atlanta after this morning's severe weather. A radar-indicated tornado was spotted in Henry and Spalding counties. Glenn Polk with Spalding County Fire says the storm should serve as a reminder.
Just always trying to stress people be prepared because you never know when something may happen. So preparedness is our best defense anytime.
The weather impacts today's Masters practice round at Augusta National. The course had to be evacuated just before 11:30. A new effort by FEMA to make it easier to get flood insurance. Acting FEMA Administrator Cameron Hamilton says it's quick and easy. It takes just a few minutes. He says insured survivors can recover faster with spring flooding and hurricane season coming. You can get a free quote at floodsmart.gov. A grand jury in Cobb County indicts a man accused of trying to kidnap a toddler at a Walmart on Cobb Parkway. Ackworth police arrested Mahendra Patel last month after a mother said he tried to kidnap her 2-year-old son. Patel's attorney says her client was trying to stop the child from falling from a motorized scooter. A Dunwoody super speeder speeds straight to jail.
The Dunwoody Police Department says the 18-year-old driver was a risk to others on the road. That's because that driver was clocked at nearly 140 miles per hour on Interstate 285. The agency says 285 is already notorious for serious crashes, and speeds this high are a recipe for disaster.
WSB's Austin Eller reports the driver was going more than double the posted speed limit. Frito-Lay is recalling some of their corn tortilla chips. The Tostitos Cantina Tradition yellow chips may contain nacho cheese made with real milk and can cause issues for people that are allergic or have sensitivities to milk. The recall only affects 13-ounce bags and were available to purchase as of March 7th. They were sold at grocery, drug, and convenience stores in a number of states, including here in Georgia. It is now 2:02. This news is sponsored by FGA Roofing. Up next, live team coverage of traffic and weather.
If someone causes you to lay your bike down, hiring proper representation is critical. Hey, it's Eric Von Hessler. Don't hire a lawyer because of slick commercials. Hire a local lawyer that specializes in motorcycle injury law. You can trust my friends at Steel Horse Law. Attorney George Stein is a rider and understands bikers' needs. Steel Horse Law has represented thousands of local riders and can maximize the value of your recovery. Schedule your free consultation at steelhorselaw.com.
At CertaPro Painters, we know that a happy place comes in many colors.
like ones that inspire a sense of wonder, or a new flavor that makes life just a little bit sweeter, or one to celebrate those moments that lift you to new heights. We can reawaken any space to make your happy place your home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
Need inspiration? Shop Kroger for mouth-watering meals and appetizing ingredients. Our low prices add up to big savings, plus over $600 in digital coupons each week, and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. At Kroger, you always get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
We've lowered prices. You can save 15% or more on hundreds of items like Thomas Mini Bagels, Campbell's SpaghettiOs, and more. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Men, trouble in the bedroom? Not anymore. Priority Men's Medical Center restores your love life in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Priority Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Priority Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. You'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients get their testosterone checked free. Call 404-885-8885. 404-885-8885. To restore your love life in just one visit, call now. 404-885-8885.
205 Alex Williams in the 24-hour traffic center.
Just one crash after another in the Northeast this afternoon, Bill. 85 northbound, we got a new crash at Jimmy Carter Boulevard, exit 99. That is in the right lane. The earlier crash north of there up around Steve Reynolds has cleared, and they're clearing up the last one out of the HOT lane, 85 southbound around Beaver Ruin Road. Better news in Cobb County, that crash that was in the left lane is gone. 75 northbound at 575. Some residual delays back through Marietta, but should start to get better there. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Rain moving out this afternoon, clearing tonight. Right now it is 64 degrees in Midtown Atlanta. More news at 2:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be happy to have you. If you text the word Eric to 33777, you can get the live stream, the podcast, and so much more. Glad to have you with me today. Now, listen, I want to talk about the Houthis because I'm tired of talking about tariffs, but I got people who want to talk about the tariffs, and I want to I want to pivot. And so before I pivot, I want to go home to Louisiana, to New Iberia, God's country. Jerome, waiting patiently. Welcome, sir. How are you?
How are you?
I am great.
Home of Tabasco.
Yeah, good to have somebody from home on the phones. Now I'm going to be the only one who can understand you with that accent, but that's okay.
Well, that's what I told you listen. I said, I don't know if you'll be able to understand me, but you should, being from New Iberia. But I'm a banker, and I've been listening to you since you've come on our local radio show about a month ago. And one of the things when I get back to tariffs and stuff, and one of the things that I remember way back when I was at LSU in economics was my professor said, he says, you have to be a manufacturing nation to feed the masses. And then he used the example, what's the GDP of a car? He says, and back then, this was in the 90s, car might have been $25,000. Well, But the GDP was actually like 170,000, and this was graduate school of banking for bankers. And so we're all sitting up there with the dumb look on our face, and then he explained. He says, GM doesn't build a battery. GM doesn't build the tires. Firestone makes the tires. They don't use the carbon black. They get the carbon black actually from a plant in New Iberia. And so forth. And the trickle-down effect was that it supplied all these jobs, these ancillary jobs. And as a banker, I can see that works now. And one time I debated an ambassador from Mexico when NAFTA was coming, and I used the argument, how can we compete when you don't have OSHA, you don't have regulations, and so forth? And their argument back to me was, well, our standard of living's going up. And as far as I can see, that's not come to pass. And as for tariffs, I believe that, you know, when we got to build a car and our cost is $45,000 to $50,000, but we are feeding the masses. And I think when you become a retail nation, and that's what we'll become to an extent, it's hard to feed the masses. That's why China and India have become great manufacturers, because they have a lot more people to do than we are. And as a banker, I can actually see that effect. So that was my point.
So, yeah, I see what you're saying, but look at it this way as well. There's a report out today that within the next month, because of the auto tariffs, it's going to be virtually impossible to find a $30,000 or less new vehicle in the United States. And used car prices, I don't know if you've seen over the weekend, used car prices have shot up. So an American in this country who isn't wealthy, can't afford an expensive car, we're about to wipe out the 30,000 and under vehicles. To the integrated market issue that you pointed out, you know, we make cars in this country. For example, we got a massive Hyundai plant down the road from me in one direction, a massive Kia plant down the road from me in another one, and a GM plant north of me. And they're getting parts from all over the world put into those vehicles. They're going to be impacted by the tariffs. So those prices are all going to go up. And as you mentioned, OSHA and stuff, we're not going to get rid of OSHA. We're not going to get rid of labor laws in this country. So we're not going to be able to produce jobs in the country cheaper. So it seems like there were ways to do what the president wanted without tariffs causing all sorts of problems for everybody.
Well, and I in talking to your call, I said, yeah, I agree. And, you know, like when if I'm building something, it costs $25,000 to build, and I'm going to try and sell it overseas, and my worker's making $85 an hour when their worker's making $7.75, I'm at a monetary disadvantage from the get-go. But if there's nothing to equal the prices until I can get to that point, in other words, if they would even let me in their market to sell the car, that would increase my production. But when they put stuff like where you can't bring a Ford into Canada, or you can't bring a Ford into Tokyo and Japan, then it puts it at a competitive disadvantage. And I think maybe Trump may have went faster than normal, but I do believe that you have to be a manufacturing nation. And I've heard you talk about intellectual properties and stuff like that. You know, when a guy invents a software, he doesn't have a whole lot of people behind him that has to trickle down to. And when you're retail, and my professor did a real good job even 30, 40 years ago, he said, it's sell wholesale, he buys it the wholesale sells it to the dealer. Dealer makes a $5,000 profit. He gets some, the salesman gets some, and it ends right there. Now, you still have to have tires and ancillary services to service that car once it's sold. But when I thought about it that way, Delco, the leather, the trim, all the stuff, a McCormick manufacturer is really just a collection of all those goods and services. So I do believe that we have to be able to be competitive, and the tariff on their cars would make it where somebody's just saying, I drive a Toyota, but when you see that a Toyota now would cost you $100,000, you could buy a Tahoe for $65,000. All things being equal, it's probably going to be the Tahoe that's going to win out if the quality's there. So I think a lot of people forget about GDP and what it means down to from the higher end all the way down to the lowest worker. Somebody's got to make the batteries and stuff like that. So that was my point.
Yeah, look, Jerome, first of all, one, call back anytime. I love hearing somebody from home on the show. And everybody could understand you, I promise. But thank you for the phone call and to the point. But, you know, this gets to Milton Friedman and the pencil. And that's kind of the point that Jerome is describing. Let me see if I can. I retweeted Milton Friedman earlier today on the issue of the pencil, and it's probably time to, here we go. This is Milton Friedman talking about building the number 2 yellow pencil of all things.
Single person in the world who could make this pencil. Remarkable statement? Not at all. The wood from which it's made, for all I know, comes from a tree that was cut down in the state of Washington. To cut down that tree, it took a saw. To make the saw, it took steel. To make the steel, it took iron ore. This black center, we call it lead, but it's really graphite, compressed graphite. I'm not sure where it comes from, but I think it comes from some mines in South America. This red top up here, the eraser, bit of rubber, probably comes from Malaya, where the rubber tree isn't even native. It was imported from South America by some businessmen with the help of the British government. This brass ferrule, I haven't the slightest idea where it came from, or the yellow paint, or the paint that made the black lines, or the glue that holds it together. Literally thousands of people cooperated to make this pencil. People who don't speak the same language, who practice different religions, who might hate one another if they ever met. When you go down to the store and buy this pencil, you are in effect trading a few minutes of your time for a few seconds of the time of all those thousands of people. What brought them together and induced them to cooperate to make this pencil? There was no commissar sending out orders from some central office. It was a magic of the price system, the impersonal operation of prices that brought them together and got them to cooperate to make this pencil so that you could have it for a trifling sum.
He's not wrong. And that it kind of gets to Jerome's point is GM makes the car, but the hoses come from somewhere, the motor comes from somewhere, the metal for the motor comes from somewhere, the battery comes from somewhere, the brake pads come from somewhere, the tires come from somewhere. They all come from different places. They all come together, and it's assembled by General Motors. And many times, a lot of those things are imported because it's easier to make the filters or the hoses abroad and bring them here. And the import duty to them, because the tariffs, that price goes up, and you are pricing the middle class and the poor out of cars. We literally are ending the ability of auto manufacturers to sell cars for $30,000 and less with the tariffs, because most of those cars are actually imported into the country from abroad. Not a lot of the $30,000 and cheaper cars are made in this country, so we're hurting the very working class people claim to be helped, and we're not going to offset the tariffs on that. Alan, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, how you doing?
Great. What's going on?
Yeah, I was listening to you earlier this morning about the college students from back in the 70s. That people were telling young folks getting out of high school that they should go to college rather than work in a factory. Well, I worked in a factory for 40-something factories, a couple different ones. Made a good living at it, making a good retirement from it. But when you manufacture something out of nothing, you create wealth. And if we are a totally service-oriented economy, we don't have any wealth. And so anybody we depend on for anything, whether it be parts, pharmaceuticals, we're dependent on another country. Then it happened during the pandemic with the masks and stuff like that, where China was hoarding a bunch of stuff. But that can happen with anything or everything that we import. And anyway, that was my point. That manufacturing.
I gotta say that I think we are nuts as a nation if we're not manufacturing like antibiotics in this country, or even missiles and microchips for weapons in this country, because we have a real national security issue. And I think the national security issue has to trump the free trade, low cost issue when it comes to not being dependent on China for that stuff. But concurrent to that, I will gently push back on this point on the love of manufacturing by a lot of people want to restore manufacturing in this country. Let's just take Nike as an example. Nike's out today with a note saying it cannot repatriate its shoe manufacturing to the United States because even with the tariff, 40% tariff in Vietnam, it's still cheaper to manufacture in Vietnam and have the tariff than it is to repatriate manufacturing in this country because of labor costs and regulation. and taxes. But also, this is something I can't get an answer to. Something I can't get an answer to, and I don't mean this disrespectfully to anyone. Don't be insulted. I can't get an answer to this issue. We are told that we need more manufacturing in this country because we're poor without manufacturing. We've gone from 40% of Americans working in manufacturing in the 1970s to 10% today, and we are now 3 times wealthier than the second wealthiest country, which is technically China. We're the wealthiest country on the planet with the strongest economy. So if we're the wealthiest economy, we have more people in this country who are doing better off than anyone else, including the poorest of the poor in the United States are actually better off than many people in poor countries around the world. I don't see the connection. And you could say, and again, for national security reasons, yeah, we do need to bring some of this back to the United States, absolutely. But the United States is the wealthiest country. And by the way, you can feel left out. But that's class warfare, and I'm not a class warfare guy because I'm a conservative. I'm not a progressive. And I'm a capitalist. I'm not a communist. So I'm going to leave out the class warfare aspect and say, well, you didn't get your fair share. Yeah, I didn't get my fair share either, but I'm not mad about it. Just going to work a little harder. And in this country, you can do that oftentimes to get ahead. But the idea that we've got to restore manufacturing in this country to build wealth in this country, we're actually the wealthiest nation on planet Earth. And the countries that are actually the most industrialized in the world are actually not nearly as wealthy as us. So I just fail to see the disconnect, or fail to see the connection and see it as a great disconnect in the logical argument of we've got to restore all this manufacturing in the country because we know objectively so we can't do it for cheap. And now even Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, is moving the goalposts to say, well, we're not actually going to have Americans working in the factories. We're going to have robots in the factories and Americans working on the robots. Okay, sure.
When the truth seems hazy, Eric will clear the way. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
220 in the Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Over on the west side, Outer Loop just watched all lanes get blocked and reopened. 285 southbound, the Outer Loop, Hollowell Parkway, exit 12. Hero got a stalled big rig from the left lane to the right shoulder, so lanes back open there. Out of DeKalb and Gwinnett County, still slow on the 285 ramps ramping to 85 northbound, although both trouble spots around Pleasantdale and Jimmy Carter are now totally off to the right. Southbound still recovering in Duluth from Highway 316 down to Beaver Ruin Road where earlier crash cleared. Traffic brought to you by Zinchi Handcrafted Sushi. Craving something fresh and flavorful? Discover Zinchi Handcrafted Sushi. High quality, affordable, and made fresh daily. Find Zinchi Sushi today at your local Publix markets right by the seafood counter. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
When news breaks,
we have reached bear market territory.
We've got it covered.
Down 20% from the recent highs.
With news at the top and bottom of every hour.
At the closing bell, the numbers are horrific.
And when it breaks,
Dow is down more than 2,200 points. The S&P is down close to 6%, as is the NASDAQ.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's breaking news station.
This is Scott Slade. Let's talk about how to improve your chances of living a longer, healthier life. For me, it's preventive medicine. My doctor saw one funky number in my lab work that eventually led to a diagnosis early enough so I still had options. You just got to have a medical professional looking at you every so often, especially when we're talking about heart disease, the nation's #1 killer. And that's where virtual imaging comes in. They've got the best CT imaging in the Southeast with 98% accuracy and low radiation, like flying in an airplane. They can detect calcium levels in your arteries and most cancers at the earliest stage. And virtual imaging can scan your brain to see if you're in danger of a tumor, stroke, or even dementia. So don't put this off, especially with this offer from virtual imaging. For a limited time, they're offering you and your spouse a free heart scan. Yes, free with a few minimum requirements. I've done it. Call 404-678-SCAN. That's 404-678-SCAN. Or make an appointment by visiting their website at virtualimagingatl.com.
Are you facing a fork in the road and deciding between continuing your career and retirement? I'm Wes Moss, host of Money Matters, and this massive life decision shouldn't be taken lightly. Talk with my team if you'd like help reviewing your retirement accounts and building a financial plan. We can help you review options and offer an opinion based on your best interests. You can find us at yourwealth.com. That's YOUR wealth.com.
Harmony in our relationships feels incredible, but harmony is only achieved by committing to certain behaviors that don't always feel incredible. In order to experience harmony, you have to overlook offenses, you have to absorb some mistreatment, you have to have difficult conversations, admit and work on your own shortcomings, and you have to forgive. Look, I know you can do it, and I know it's worth it. This is Tom Gray, and This Stuff Matters.
ThisStuffMatters.net.
Stay comfortable at home all year long with Jape Services. Hi, this is Daniel Jape, and our team has decades of experience servicing Atlanta's heating and cooling needs, which means you can count on us. We're licensed, insured, and I personally guarantee when you call Jape Services, you'll be treated just like family. Call us 24/7 or book online at japeservices.com. That's JAPE services.com.
Jape Services.
Hey, it's Scott Slade for FGA Roofing. If your home's exterior could use an updated look, or maybe one of your neighbor's designer roofs has caught your eye, and your current roof has started to show its age, then now's the perfect time to check out FGA Roofing for the latest in architectural shingles, timberland shingles, and more. Slate, tile, wood shake, cedar roofs, FGA has them all. FGA Roofing offers 0% financing for 12 months with your good credit. Get the roof you want now and pay over time. Click firstgaroof.com. That's firstgaroof.com.
So how do we create value? This is Greg Trzynski from the Original Mattress Factory. Value comes from having complete control over our product quality. From design to manufacturing to delivery, everything is handled in-house by our trained professionals. This approach allows us to maintain strict quality standards and respond quickly to customer needs. We believe true value is created when a company takes full responsibility for its products. When you choose OMF, you're getting a mattress built with care and attention at every step. OriginalMattress.com.
Andrea Bocelli in concert. Saturday, October 11th, Gas South Arena with Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Stephen Mercurio. The world's most romantic voice, Andrea Bocelli in concert. Purchase tickets at Ticketmaster.com or by calling 470-639-8243.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
It's the Eric Erickson Show.
Welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here. I got to tell you, my call screener, God bless him, get a little annoyed with some of the people calling. Let me just make one point. Yes, someone apparently called in and said we're $36 trillion in debt or $35 trillion in debt. How can Eric have the audacity to say we're the wealthiest nation on the planet? Our federal government is $36 trillion in debt. If you don't understand that you as an American are wealthier than anyone else on planet Earth, you need to actually get out into the world and go travel some, please. American businesses are better off than the businesses of any other country. Americans have more put away for retirement than anyone else in the world. Americans actually forget the national government. I'm not talking about the national government. I'm talking about you. And you may not feel like you're very wealthy. Well, then take a mission trip somewhere. Please, take a mission trip somewhere. I don't understand the excuse making for people. The United States is the wealthiest nation on the planet. Yes, the federal government has a $35 trillion debt, but the United States itself is the wealthiest country on planet Earth. Our companies are more valuable than any other company anywhere in the world. We actually generate more income as a nation than any other country on planet Earth. American standard of living is higher than anywhere else on planet Earth. We haven't had a middle class that's been decimated. We have a middle class that's been elevated out of the middle class into the upper class. You may not feel like your situation is that good, but you should take a mission trip. You should actually join a church, sign up, go to a third world hellhole on a mission trip to offer the gospel of Jesus Christ. Watch those people crave an uplifting message so you can sit on your couch at home and mope that the country is $35 trillion in debt and it sucks and our country's bad. You have not lived in the world if that is your attitude. You have lived the sheltered existence the left claims you live. If you can look at the world today and think we're worse off than any other nation on planet Earth, even China, the majority of the Chinese are poor and the country is enslaved to communists. I mean, honestly, shame on you if you think that this country is terribly off. Do we have problems? Yes, and I'm not disputing that we have problems, but what a privileged existence you live to be able to call into a talk radio program on a cell phone or a landline phone, but probably a cell phone in this country, and say we're such a poor country because you clearly haven't left this country to see what the rest of the world has. So shame on you for not being grateful at the country that you have and its wealth, to think that somehow we need to destroy the wealth of other people in the country so that you can feel good about yourself. And I would really recommend that you go to ericforhillsdale.com and sign up to take the basic economics class, because I got to tell you, there are a lot of people who have no sense of economics in this country right now, and it's just not that hard to deal with basic economics. You can go to ericforhillsdale.com today, and you can sign up for one of 40 different classes, from economics to chemistry to math to politics to philosophy to theology to literature, and you will not pay a penny. It's a great deal because it's free. ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K. Learn the basics of the supply and demand curve. It's all there. You can learn about Shakespeare or C.S. Lewis. Learn about the founding of the country and citizenship. Learn about the theology and literature of Genesis. Learn about basic chemistry or mathematics. All free. You don't pay a penny. It's part of Hillsdale College's mission since 1833 to find Americans where they are and educate them, not indoctrinate them. ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K. It's a great place to go. Surely there's a topic you're interested in. You want to learn more. ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K. You can pick a topic, any topic. You'll never pay a penny. You'll get a certificate of completion. You'll improve your mind in a topic you're interested in. ericforhillsdale.com.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 2:30, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top local story. There are reports of some damage after trees fall during severe weather in Henry and Spalding counties this morning.
Right now, we do have about 16 calls for service from power lines and trees down. We've had one home damaged by a tree falling.
Glenn Polk with Spalding County Fire says there are no reports of injuries. The stormy weather, bad news for golf fans in Augusta. Patrons at today's practice round of the Masters have to get off the course just before 11:30. It's another stomach-churning roller coaster ride on Wall Street. Stocks are falling sharply lower and then making up some ground this afternoon. Lee Baker, founder and CEO of Claris Financial Advisors, based in Atlanta, says he doesn't see this volatility ending anytime soon.
I'd say the ratio of being that practicing psychology without a license is definitely going up. So yeah, there's a lot more hand-holding, a lot more coaching, a lot more counseling, but quite frankly, that's a part of the job.
In the meantime, he says investors should understand there are other options than just traditional stocks and bonds. Dunwoody police clock an 18-year-old driver going 137 miles per hour on I-285. He is charged as a super speeder.
Anybody over 85 and over gets an additional fee from the state. So along with the penalties enforced by the city of Dunwoody, then there's additional $200 fee that is enforced by the state of Georgia.
Dunwoody Police Lieutenant Tim Fecht says most posted speed limits on the perimeter are 55 or 65. Today is National No Housework Day. A survey from Cinch Home Services shows 28% of people say they don't like folding laundry. The chore most hated, though, according to this survey, cleaning the toilet. It is now 2:32. This news is sponsored by Bread Beckers.
Belinda here for Atlanta Vision Institute. I'm here to introduce you to a new procedure that Dr. Ashraf is performing called laser optics. This changed my life, folks. I was so tired of wearing contacts and glasses. The glasses were not around when I needed them. I had astigmatism, so the contacts didn't fit me well, and I had beginning stages of cataracts. So I went in. I was a great candidate for laser optics. It was a quick, painless procedure. The next day, it was like everything was in HD. The colors were more vibrant. The leaves were more vibrant. The sky was more vibrant. My husband was better looking. Everything was great. Laser optics with Dr. Ashraf, Atlanta Vision Institute. Go to the website 2020atlanta.com to find out more information. Also, take the quiz to see if this is a procedure that's good for you. Your medical insurance may cover it. That's 2020atlanta.com.
Spring storms can produce flash flooding with heavy rain flowing around your house and into your crawl space. And rainwater trapped in there will provide the perfect breeding ground for mold. Hey, this is Christina Epwords. Mold not only produces that stale, musty smell, but it can also impact the air quality in your home. But call my friends at American Crawl Space Solutions. They will encapsulate your crawl space, keeping it dry and preventing mold from forming. AmericanCrawlSpaceSolutions.com, your best value for crawl space repair.
American Crawl Space Solutions. Foundations too.
The foods we eat can be downright bad for our health. This is Sue from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've been teaching the truth about real bread. Not the stuff you buy at the store. I'm talking real bread made with freshly milled flour. When you buy bread from the store, take a look at the ingredients. Enriched flour means that the nutritious bran and germ has been removed to improve the shelf life. Then a few B vitamins and iron are added back to replace the multitude of nutrients lost. That's not enrichment in my book. And today, that label may even read contains bioengineered food ingredients. Food should never be bioengineered. At Bread Beckers in Woodstock, we can teach you how to make real bread loaded with fiber and nutrients. A delicious, healthy, affordable solution that can improve your health and change your life. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
At 2:34, Alex Williams in the traffic center.
Seeing some rain on the jam cam over on the west side where they just got that stalled big rig off to the right. 285 southbound, Hollowell Parkway exit 12. 75 north between Marietta and Kennesaw. Also some volume from South Marietta Parkway up to Chastain Road exit 271. And downtown gotten a little bit slower. Not terrible yet though. No alternate needed. 75, 85 southbound on and off the brakes from 17th Street down to Cortlandt Street. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Rain moving through Metro Atlanta at this hour. It's going to end later today, then be clear and cooler tomorrow. Right now, 65 in East Point, 68 in Hampton, and 59 in Woodstock. More news at 3 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
He's got the courage to tell you the truth because the truth is what matters. You're listening to The Erick Erickson Show.
You know, just as an aside, randomly as an aside, and I mean no offense by this, but I understand there are people who, when Joe Biden was president, they're like, oh, the country's gone to hell in a handbasket. But really, y'all, the desire to talk down, you've won, and Donald Trump is president, and you're like, oh, the country still sucks. Man, that people with y'all need some I don't know, coaching, like mental positive power of positive thinking sort of thing. That the country is honestly, we're a great country. We are full of good people. Even if the election doesn't go your way, you're starting to sound like the left. That's just that's sad to me. Don't be like the left when it comes to this sort of stuff. Have the power of positive thinking, and we are a wealthy nation of great people. So stop belittling the country to make your political decisions feel better, I guess. All right, to the phone, Susan in Dayton, Ohio. You're going to be up next. Welcome, Susan. How are you?
Hi. Oh, I'm fine. Firstly, as far as I wanted to go over manufacturing. I was a recruiter for 23 years in manufacturing, and I placed executives, engineers in multiple industries, especially in Tier 1 automotive. And as far as manufacturing overseas is concerned, if it's a cheap product that they can pop out real fast and do real cheap and there's no way we can do it, that's fine. But when you're looking at a highly engineered product, like the parts that go in automobiles, I'm just going to pull over, sorry. This is what my supply chain professionals told me. They would have to buy 5, 6 of each piece. It would take weeks to get there. Then it would have to go into a warehouse, be sorted, the good from the bad. So you're then paying an American to sort them. and then an American to fix them. So it actually wasn't cheaper to make it overseas, and it certainly wasn't lean manufacturing or just in time. Because if you look at the Japanese plants and the manufacturing plants as you have, like you say, Hyundai and Kia and General around you, if you look at the Asian manufacturing plants and the European manufacturing plants, to have true just-in-time manufacturing, they have all their components made within a 5-hour radius of that plant, because they can keep their stock down and they can have deliveries more often, and it's cheaper. So automobile prices actually won't go up if the products are made here, because there'll be less waste and there'll be less processes to make those parts. They're not also going to be stuck in any war you have with the ports either, you know. So as far as like plastic toys and shoes and cheap clothes and spices, yeah, make those overseas, import them, and help other countries. But when you want a highly engineered product, you need to make it here, and you'll make it better, faster, more reliable, and it'll save the companies money in the long run, and it will employ more people. And yes, there will be automation, but it'll still employ people at higher wages. When GM at Delphi closed plants in Dayton back in the early 2000s, because the unions wouldn't negotiate a pay cut, and people were making $37 an hour on the floor at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that manufacturing went overseas because a couple of union guys didn't want to jeopardize some possible new job they were going to get. Thousands of people lost their jobs, and those people went down to $8, $9, $10 an hour. Those people before were making over $100,000 a year. And all was asked of them if they would take a 20% pay cut to keep their jobs here in Dayton. And that's coming, I got that from the executives at Delphi. But every supply chain person I know will tell you it's cheaper, more reliable to make the engineered products here in the States.
So, maybe engineered products, but I got to tell you what, while you're talking to me, a person who works for one of the companies that you just named is actually texting me, listening to the show, ironically also from Ohio, telling me that there's a difference between engineered parts and other parts. The leather for the seats, but also oftentimes the hoses. Things like that are actually not as cheap to make in this country, and he raises the question of, if they were, do we not think that some of these companies would actually do that if it was cheaper to actually make in this country? So they're absolutely engineered parts. The United States excels at engineered manufacturing. That's kind of where we are in the country. The shoe manufacturing and the clothing manufacturing is overseas, but the auto manufacturing is in this country. And engineered parts for vehicles are also in this country. But the raw materials manufacturing and also the manufacturing of some of the parts of cars that aren't necessarily highly technically engineered parts, the leather for seats and things like that, we make abroad because it's cheaper. So it actually is a globally integrated system. And now those parts that are coming in, including the cheap parts, are going to get tariffed, and it is going to drive up the cost of the car. I mean, just the bottom line, people, is if you can set aside your emotions, which is very hard to do, just ask yourself, do you really think these companies, if they can make things cheap in this country, given the Buy America demand, wouldn't they do it? Wouldn't they do it? Because I think they would. Because so many people want to buy America. There are so many incentives, tax incentives and otherwise, to bring stuff home, to do stuff regardless of the tariffs. If it was cheaper, wouldn't they do it? I think they would. I think they would. And that they're not suggests it's actually not as cheap to make some of the stuff. And again, a friend of mine who actually is in one of those companies who works there right now is telling me that is exactly the case. A lot of the engineered parts are made here, but a lot of the parts that are not overly technical to make are made abroad because it is cheaper to make them and import them into this country, and they're not going to be repatriated into the country because it'll be more expensive to make them in the country, even with the tariffs, which is very much like Nike. So don't forget that component. And again, like Nike is saying that it is impossible for Nike to repatriate its shoe line to the United States and make goods at a competitive price, even with the tariff. In Vietnam, it'll still be cheaper to make shoes there. But now take the uncertainty into account. So Scott Bisson is out. There's breaking news happening. Scott Bisson is out. So the president has asked Bisson to negotiate trade deals with these countries abroad. The question now becomes the uncertainty. NASDAQ has just gone up 130 points and the S&P up 16 points, as it does appear that the tariffs are going to be paused as they negotiate these deals. That's good, but how long is it going to last? What's it going to look like? A lot of companies are going to keep their money on the sidelines until we can actually figure these things out, and so much of it is the unknown. The unknown is driving money to the sidelines while people sort this out. I mean, one of the best performing stocks today is Dollar General, which should actually not be a good sign, but a warning sign for a lot of people that we're worried about the way the economy is going to shake out. Gregory in Jacksonville, Florida, you're going to be up next. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing today?
Great.
Great. I had the opportunity when I was growing up to see other countries and see the world. And most people don't recognize how great the United States is because they've never been anywhere else. And if you've experienced different countries, I don't care what country you've been to, when you come home, you can just feel, see, everything is so much better here. So when celebrities say, I want to go here, I want to move here because of this or that, they have no clue what they're talking about because this is the best place to go. I know many people that have came here from other countries, and they were very, very upset thinking we're going to lose this country because there's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else they could go. They've made it to the promised land. And, that was just my perspective.
Look, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, this is, and it's also, Gregory, one of the things Ronald Reagan used to say. I mean, freedom can die in just a generation, but also nobody wants to go anywhere else on the planet. Everyone wants to come here. I mean, we've just witnessed this massive wave of illegal immigration into the country, and it's wild to me that we forget just how awesome this country is, and we really are. We are the greatest nation. Justin, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Eric, thanks for taking my call. My question is, I hear people say that tariffs are a tax on the people of the country imposing them, but I just can't wrap my head around why would a country impose tariffs on us if it's essentially keeping their citizens poorer by doing it.
Okay, so let's begin with what the tariff is. The tariff is, and let's use the United States to keep it simple. So we import a car from Japan. The company that imports the car into the United States has to pay a tax on the car coming into the United States. That company does a couple of things to pay the tax. They either add the tax to the actual value of the car and the consumer pays it, or they reduce hiring or spread it out over non-tariff products to lower the burden on the people buying it. But it is a tax coming into the country. So now you're asking, I guess, why does another country, like, for example, why would South Korea impose a tariff on American goods coming into South Korea? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that because I hear people saying that, whoever's imposing the tax in that country, it's going to hurt their citizens. So why, if it's such a bad idea, and I agree with so many things that you say, I'm just trying to wrap my head around why does everyone in the world seem to want to tariff our stuff?
Okay,
if that's
so,
the case,
Justin,
if their citizens are getting poorer,
I'm gonna make a statement that's gonna make a lot of my listening audience mad, and I need you to know that I'm telling you the God's honest truth, even if people don't want to acknowledge I'm telling the truth. Most countries don't have tariffs on American goods.
Okay.
South Korea doesn't. The United Kingdom doesn't. European countries don't. Canada does not. So here's where people are getting the tariff idea from. One, the White House says it, but it's not really true. So the way Donald Trump, when he was president the first time, renegotiated a number of free trade deals, and they set an export volume limit, and that means, let's say, we take the average exports in Europe and say the United States sends to European nations $5 billion in goods a year. What the European Union would do to save face at home politically was say, you know what, if the United States, and we'll inflate this number every year from $5 billion, and if the United States exceeds $5 billion of imports into the country, then we're going to impose a tariff. Well, the United States never exceeds $5 billion imported to Europe, so our goods aren't actually tariffed. Now, there are some countries, protectionist countries, that do impose a tariff. And those countries tend to be poor countries, and the reason they impose a tariff is they're afraid that if an American good comes into their country, it could wipe out their domestic industry. Never mind their domestic industry is corrupt, it's outmoded, it fails to innovate. They're afraid if the American product comes into their country, it's going to kill their domestic industry. That's why those poor countries impose a tariff, because they want to actually they want to protect a domestic industry that is making things more expensive than it should. Tariffs actually do keep countries poor, and that was Milton Friedman's point in his talk about the pencil that I played earlier. And it's the point of most economists is countries that rely on tariffs tend to keep their citizens poorer than countries that don't have tariffs. And they impose a tariff to protect an existing industry that has high prices for inefficiencies, inertia, and other reasons, because if you get rid of the tariff, it brings prices down, so the people benefit. A tariff is not about you and me. A tariff is about protecting companies. A tariff is actually the ultimate tool in corporatist welfare. You're protecting and establishing local manufacturing that charges the citizens a higher rate. So you, the citizen, are screwed by a tariff. Some companies are protected by a tariff, but tariffs are bad because tariffs are actually a government policy designed to deny you, the consumer, the ability to buy a good as cheap as you possibly could. That's what's happening here. Adam Smith, all the way back. In fact, let me read you this again. This is Adam Smith. Well, let me just see. Wealth of Nations year written. Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations. And look at that, 1776. For some reason, I thought it was earlier than that. In 1776, Adam Smith wrote this. What is prudence in the conduct of every private family can scarce be folly in that of a great kingdom. If a foreign country can supply us with a commodity cheaper than we ourselves can make it, better buy it of them with some part of the produce of our own industry, employed in a way in which we have some advantage. In every country, it always is and must be the interest of the great body of the people to buy whatever they want of those who sell it cheapest. The proposition is so very manifest that it seems ridiculous to take any pains to prove it, nor could it ever have been called into question had not the interested sophistry of merchants and manufacturers confounded the common sense of mankind. Their interest is, in this respect, directly opposite that of the great body of people. In other words, it is the interest of you and your family to be able to buy whatever product you want as cheap as you can, even if it's from another country. It is in the interest of the corporate robber barons of the world to impose tariffs. And that's the irony here, is that in the name of helping the working class, tariffs actually screw the working class and help the rich people who own the factories in this country. That's it. Now, while all of this is happening, we haven't paid attention to the price of gold, which has been skyrocketing because of all the economic uncertainty. It turns out Swiss America has been the trusted leader in precious metals in this country for 40 years, and they're warning people about a secret war on cash. If you're interested in safeguarding your hard-earned cash from the secret war, you can get their free report, The Secret War on Cash. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. Swiss America can educate you on protecting your assets. This report takes less than 15 minutes to read. It can save on your retirement and finances. What you do is you call or text 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. The All-Out War on Cash includes digital forms of currency. So get your report, The Secret War on Cash, completely free. Again, 800-289-2646. Just mention Eric when you call or text 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply.
Follow Eric on X, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Search EW Erickson.
252 Coolray Carrier WSB 24-hour traffic center. Some rain falling around Metro Atlanta, not helping conditions out on the road. We are seeing the brake lights on and off in both directions. 85 north and southbound, some wet pavement between 285 and Highway 316. 75 north in Cobb County. You're also seeing some volume from North or South Marietta Parkway up to Chastain Road exit 271, and downtown sluggish. 75 85 south 17th Street down toward I-20. Northbound getting a bit slower. University Avenue into Midtown. Traffic brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off, and for UPS shipping, add code radio and get an extra 5% off. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
When traffic
No
hits,
traffic getting through in either direction.
the Triple Team Traffic Center has you covered.
Even the bridge over 75 is being held.
Your source for Atlanta's traffic.
Traffic out of Spaghetti Junction along 285 westbound and a crash on Peachtree Boulevard 141 southbound before 285.
Brought to you by the Coolray Lifetime Parts and Labor Warranty.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
This is Scott Slade. Let's talk about how to improve your chances of living a longer, healthier life. For me, it's preventive medicine. My doctor saw one funky number in my lab work that eventually led to a diagnosis early enough so I still had options. You just got to have a medical professional looking at you every so often, especially when we're talking about heart disease, the nation's #1 killer. And that's where virtual imaging comes in. They've got the best CT imaging in the Southeast with 98% accuracy and low radiation, like flying in an airplane. They can detect calcium levels in your arteries and most cancers at the earliest stage. And virtual imaging can scan your brain to see if you're in danger of a tumor, stroke, or even dementia. So don't put this off, especially with this offer from Virtual Imaging. For a limited time, they're offering you and your spouse a free heart scan. Yes, free with a few minimum requirements. I've done it. Call 404-678-SCAN. That's 404-678-SCAN. Or make an appointment by visiting their website at virtualimagingatl.com.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. When garage doors break, they usually don't break all at once. They don't just up and die. They die slowly. Garage doors complain a bit before they crap out, squeaking and sticking and shaking and grinding. They go down part way and then stop and go back up for no reason. But they hardly ever just end up dead with no symptoms and no long goodbye. If you ignored the signs, that dead door is on you. At Mo Better Garage, we make that way mo better. Our 19-point seasonal maintenance check makes sure everything's healthy. Oil the chain, check the rollers, realign the tracks, talk to you about how things are going, and look into any symptoms that might have you worried. Catch problems early, and your garage door should be around to play with the grandkids and talk about the old days when all this was just farmland.
Mo Better Garage, we make it way more better.
MoBetterGarage.com.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Serving my country required sacrifice that changed my life forever. I remember the day I came home. Because of my injuries, this house wasn't right for me anymore. I remember the narrow doorways, the small bathrooms, the shelves out of reach when in my wheelchair. Every day was full of obstacles. I felt trapped. I remember a better day, the day my family received a specially adapted custom home from Homes for Our Troops. That day changed everything. Now we have a safe and accessible home to enjoy the freedom I fought for. This place, our home, is exactly what we needed to rebuild our lives.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives. Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
The Secretary of Treasury coming out here just a very short time ago announcing that he has been ordered by the president to begin negotiating trade deals with the 50 countries that claim that the claim they want trade deals. The NASDAQ, the Dow, the S&P, they were up, and now they've gone back down again, as the White House also reiterating that, well, there will still be minimum tariffs. Wall Street economists saying that they believe there is a recession, and you've got some big Republicans coming out this afternoon saying they're still not sure exactly what's going on here. What you do need to know is that Beijing, in just the last little while, has said if the president raises tariffs to 105%, Beijing will raise tariffs on the United States. Beijing, by the way, is also cutting its currency, which is notable because the United States is the world's reserve currency. With economic uncertainty in the United States and a possible recession, Beijing is introducing other countries to its currency as a possible world reserve currency. That would further undermine the value of the dollar in the world. Beijing is actually going to fight Donald Trump on this. They're not going to come to terms on this. They claim he's a bully. And you can say, well, good, we're spoiling for a fight against China. And part of me really thinks we need to be fighting China on this, but we can't really fight China and the rest of the world together. So hopefully we can find some major accommodations on tariffs before it's too late, because otherwise this is going to get out of hand. And all of our costs are going to go up and the dollar is going to slide. And that's going to make your trips abroad even more expensive. So let's see where this thing plays out. Wild ride still happening out there.
WSB consumer expert Clark Howard.
So it's been a fact of life that power bills have been going up, and away for any of a number of reasons. But now new technologies are helping you and me as a consumer or a business owner fight back. And one of the greatest things you can do is look at the new battery technologies that allow you automatically to store power at your home or at your business overnight when power rates are extra cheap. And then you use that battery power during the day when power rates are really expensive. It also provides you temporary backup for power when there's a power outage. Instead of having to use a backup generator, you use batteries to do it. Many different types available, and they're getting cheaper every month. I'm Clark Howard.
News, weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
At 3 o'clock, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top local story. Cleaning up from severe weather. There's some damage in South Metro Atlanta after a radar-confirmed tornado passes through this morning.
The system intensified rapidly, roaring through Spalding, Fayette, and Henry counties. This listener telling WSB.
Just drove through the debris field in Griffin, mainly pine straw and natural debris. There was no building structures or anything like that.
And indeed, the structural damage appears to be minimal, which is very good news. But Glenn Polk with Spalding County Fire says it's always best to take any watches and warnings seriously.
Trying to stress people be prepared because you never know when something may happen. Preparedness is our best defense anytime.
A number of people did lose power at the height of the storm. Graham Carroll, 95.5 WSB.
Due to the stormy weather, today's practice round at Augusta National is canceled. Anyone with tickets for today's Masters practice round will be sent refunds and the opportunity to purchase 2026 Monday practice round tickets. It is 62 degrees in Atlanta. Sun returns tomorrow, but cool. Meteorologist Christina Edwards has Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. All new at 3 o'clock as he readies for his next State of the City address. The South Fulton mayor deals with a personal financial issue.
An eviction notice contends that City of South Fulton Mayor Khalid Kamal has overstayed his lease and owes some $2,000 in rent and fees to Ashford at Spring Lake. The mayor, who now goes by the name Kobe, tells me he was already in the process of moving out and could not afford 2 rents on a $40,000 salary.
$20 an hour, which is what we pay our groundskeepers in parks or sales associate in Target. I represent over 200 million Americans for whom an unexpected expense of $1,000 can mean financial catastrophe.
He chalks this up to politics as he's running for re-election. Veronica Waters, 95.5 WSB.
A Stone Mountain man gets 2 life sentences for murdering his boss.
23-year-old Ymir Paul Thomas was found guilty of killing 57-year-old Donald Crenshaw in 2023. According to investigators, the two worked together at a Church's Chicken where Crenshaw was the general manager. The 2 men apparently got into a fight at the restaurant the afternoon of the murder. Thomas was seen on home surveillance video